Sean Murray's world shatters as he receives the news that will forever change his life. His children, Alex and Sarah, are dead, victims of a Cardassian attack on their civilian transport ship. The 45-year-old former military officer stands rigid, his face a mask of shock and disbelief as the holographic message flickers before him. The stark reality of Earth's decade-long occupation by the Galactic Empire crashes down upon him. For years, he had managed to keep his family safe, navigating the treacherous waters of alien rule. Now, in an instant, everything he loved is gone. Sean's fingers curl into fists, his knuckles white with tension. The grief that threatens to overwhelm him transmutes into a burning rage. He will not let this stand. He cannot. In the privacy of his modest apartment, Sean accesses a secure communications channel. His military connections, carefully maintained over the years, prove their worth as classified information about Cardassian weaknesses flows onto his datapad. Each piece of intelligence is a potential weapon, a means to strike back at the empire that took everything from him. Days blur into nights as Sean pores over the data, formulating a plan. He reaches out to old comrades, testing the waters of loyalty and shared resentment against their oppressors. Jack Chen, a grizzled veteran with a network of contacts throughout the Resistance, is the first to join his cause. Marcus Wong, a young tech prodigy with a grudge against the Empire, brings his expertise to the table. Together, they transform an abandoned mining facility on a remote asteroid into their hidden base of operations. The cavernous spaces echo with the sounds of preparation as they gather weapons, supplies, and intelligence. Sean stands at the center of it all, a quiet fury driving his every action. Their first target, a Cardassian outpost on Titan, Saturn's largest moon. Sean leads the infiltration himself, his military training kicking in as he navigates the alien facility. Each step is calculated, each movement precise. The team moves like ghosts through the corridors, gathering crucial intelligence on the Empire's defense systems and command structure. It's during this mission that Sean encounters Flora, a Cardassian scientist whose eyes betray a flicker of doubt about the Empire's methods. He sees an opportunity, a crack in the facade of Cardassian superiority. Despite his instinctive revulsion, Sean begins to cultivate a connection, carefully manipulating Flora's uncertainty to extract valuable information. As news of their successful strike spreads, Sean feels a shift in the air. Humans on Earth and in the colonies begin to whisper his name, a symbol of defiance against their reptilian overlords. Hope, long suppressed, begins to kindle in the hearts of the oppressed. The Galactic Empire, caught off guard by the precision and effectiveness of these attacks, scrambles to respond. Resources are diverted, security measures tightened. But it's too late. The spark of rebellion has been lit, and Sean Murray fans the flames with every strike against Imperial targets. Other resistance cells, emboldened by Sean's success, intensify their efforts. A coordinated uprising erupts on several human colonies, catching the Cardassians by surprise. The Empire's response is swift and brutal, but their crackdowns only serve to fuel human resentment and drive more supporters to Sean's cause. As his campaign of vengeance escalates, Sean finds himself standing on a knife's edge. Each mission becomes more dangerous, the stakes higher. He pushes himself and his team to the limit, driven by the memory of Alex and Sarah. Yet in quiet moments, doubt creeps in. Where does justice end and blind revenge begin? Sean Murray, once a father and protector, has become an instrument of retribution. The Galactic Empire trembles, unaware that their greatest threat comes not from armies or fleets, but from a single man with nothing left to lose. The war for Earth's freedom has begun, ignited by a father's grief and fueled by humanity's indomitable spirit. The success of the Titan operation sent ripples through the human resistance. As Sean and his team returned to their asteroid base, they found a growing crowd of new recruits eager to join their cause. Among them stood Dr. Elena Rodriguez, her dark eyes burning with a fierce tenacity. "I heard about what you did on Titan," she said, extending her hand to Sean. "I want in." Sean studied her face, noting the lines of exhaustion and grief etched around her eyes. "What's your story, Doctor?" Elena's heart made. "I led a xenobiology research team. We were studying Cardassian physiology, trying to find weaknesses we could exploit. The Cardassians found out and, well, let's just say I'm the only one left." Sean nodded, recognizing the pain in her voice. "Welcome aboard, Dr. Rodriguez. We could use your expertise." As Elena integrated into the team, Sean focused on analyzing the intelligence gathered from the Titan mission. He pored over schematics and security protocols, searching for vulnerabilities they could exploit. Jack Chen and Marcus Wong worked alongside him, their combined experience forming the backbone of the Resistance's strategy. "Look at this," Marcus said, pointing to an encrypted data stream. "It's a set of shuttle codes. If we can crack them, we might be able to move freely through Cardassian-controlled space." Sean's mind raced back to his encounter with Flora, the conflicted Cardassian scientist. "I think I know someone who can help us with that." Over the next few weeks, Sean carefully cultivated his relationship with Flora, feeding her carefully selected information about human culture and values. He watched as doubt grew in her eyes, her loyalty to the Empire slowly eroding. "The Empire? It's not what I thought it was," Flora confessed during one of their clandestine meetings. "The things we've done to your people, it's unconscionable." Sean seized the opportunity. "We're planning something big, Flora. Something that could change everything, but we need those shuttle codes." Flora hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "I'll get them for you." With the codes in hand, Sean set his sights on a new target, a Cardassian supply depot in the Kuiper Belt. The team boarded a stolen Cardassian shuttle, their hearts pounding as they approached the depot's security perimeter. "Shuttle XK-329, transmit authorization code," a gruff Cardassian voice crackled over the comm. Marcus inputted the stolen codes, his fingers dancing across the console. For a moment, silence hung heavy in the air. Then, "Authorization confirmed. Proceed to docking Bay 7. The team let out a collective breath. They were in. Moving swiftly through the depot's corridors, they made their way to the antimatter storage facility. Elena's knowledge of Cardassian technology proved invaluable as she guided them through the complex systems. "Here," she whispered, pointing to a control panel. "If we overload these regulators, it'll trigger a chain reaction." Sean nodded, his hands steady as he input the commands. Alarms blared as the facility's systems detected the sabotage. "Time to go," Sean ordered, leading the team back to their shuttle. They barely cleared the depot's perimeter when the first explosion rocked the structure. From the shuttle's viewport, they watched as a series of detonations tore through the facility, reducing it to scattered debris. The destruction of the supply depot sent shockwaves through the Cardassian occupation force. Outposts in the outer solar system found themselves cut off from vital resources, creating vulnerabilities that Sean and his team were quick to exploit. Over the following months, they launched a series of lightning strikes against isolated Cardassian positions. Human prisoners were liberated, valuable technology was acquired, and the spark of resistance grew into a roaring flame. As news of their victories spread, more humans flocked to join the cause. Sean established a network of safe houses and underground communication channels, coordinating efforts across different star systems. The growing insurgency forced the Cardassians to increase their military presence in human-occupied territories, straining their resources and creating tensions within the Galactic Empire's hierarchy. During this time, Sean continued to nurture his connection with Flora. Each piece of intelligence she provided was another nail in the coffin of her loyalty to the Empire. "There's going to be a diplomatic summit," Flora revealed during one of their meetings. "High-ranking Cardassian officials, representatives from other species in the Empire. It's a chance to strike at the heart of the Cardassian leadership," Sean finished, his mind already racing with possibilities. Back at the Resistance base, Sean gathered his core team. "This summit is our chance to deal a crippling blow to the Cardassian command structure," he explained. "Marcus, I need you to develop a virus that can infiltrate their security systems. Jack, start training a group of snipers. We may need to take more direct action." As preparations for the summit operation intensified, Sean found himself grappling with a moral dilemma. The target list included not only Cardassian leaders directly responsible for the attack that killed his children, but also diplomats from other species who might be more moderate in their views. We have to be strategic about this, Elena argued during a planning session. Indiscriminate attacks could backfire, turn other species against us. Sean nodded, the weight of the decision heavy on his shoulders. You're right. We need to be precise, surgical. This isn't just about vengeance anymore. It's about giving humanity a real chance at freedom. As the resistance movement gained momentum, it attracted the attention of Admiral Krell, a Cardassian military commander known for his ruthlessness in crushing rebellions. Krell deployed elite death squads to hunt down resistance cells, raising the stakes for Sean and his team. The pressure intensified when Sean received an urgent message from one of his informants. Admiral Krell had captured a high-ranking member of the resistance and was personally overseeing their interrogation. The captured operative possessed crucial information about Sean's network in the upcoming summit operation. Sean's mind raced as he considered his options. A rescue mission would be incredibly risky, but leaving the operative in Krell's hands could unravel everything they had worked for. Time was running out, and Sean knew that his next decision could determine the fate of the entire resistance movement. Sean's heart raced as he processed the implications of the captured operative's information. Every second counted now. He turned to his team, his voice steady despite the urgency coursing through him. We're launching a rescue operation. Now! Within minutes, Sean had assembled a small, elite team consisting of Jack Chen, Marcus Wong, and Dr. Elena Rodriguez. As they gathered their gear, Sean reached out to Flora, his Cardassian informant, for crucial intel on Admiral Krell's secret interrogation facility. It's on a heavily fortified space station orbiting Jupiter. Flora's voice crackled through the secure comm channel. Security is tight, but I can provide you with the patrol schedules and access codes. Sean nodded, his mind already formulating a plan. Send everything you've got. We'll need every advantage we can get. With Flora's information in hand, Sean briefed his team on the audacious plan he'd devised. They would use a captured Cardassian shuttle to infiltrate the station, relying on Marcus's technical expertise to modify the transponder codes. As they approached the massive space station looming against the backdrop of Jupiter's swirling storms, tension filled the shuttle's cockpit. Marcus's fingers flew over the control panel, inputting the falsified codes. Shuttle CT-592 requesting permission to dock, Sean transmitted, his voice steady. Priority supply delivery for Admiral Krell. Seconds ticked by, each feeling like an eternity. Finally, a gruff Cardassian voice responded, Shuttle CT-592, you are cleared for docking. Bay 3. Collective sighs of relief filled the shuttle as they maneuvered towards the assigned bay. As they touched down, Dr. Rodriguez activated a canister containing her specially engineered virus. Remember, it won't harm them permanently, she explained, but it should create enough chaos to buy us some time. Sean and Jack donned their holographic disguises, transforming into perfect replicas of Cardassian officers. They strode purposefully through the station's corridors, their hearts pounding beneath the illusory scales. Marcus's voice crackled in their earpieces. I've looped the security feeds and rerouted the patrols. You should have a clear path to the detention level. As they descended deeper into the station, signs of Dr. Rodriguez's handiwork became evident. Cardassian crew members stumbled through the halls, faces flushed and coughing violently. Reaching the detention level, Sean and Jack encountered their first real obstacle, a squad of elite Cardassian guards, unaffected by the virus and alert to the intruders. In an instant, the air filled with the sizzle of energy weapons. Sean dove behind a console, returning fire with practiced precision. Jack engaged in close combat, his augmented strength allowing him to overpower the Cardassian soldiers. The skirmish was intense but brief, ending with the guards incapacitated. However, the last guard managed to smack his head on an alarm panel before losing consciousness. Klaxons blared throughout the station, and Sean knew their window of opportunity had just shrunk dramatically. They burst into the interrogation chamber to find Admiral Krell looming over a battered figure strapped to a cruel-looking device. Sean's breath caught in his throat as he recognized Colonel Sarah Hawkins, his former commanding officer. Krell spun around, his reptilian features contorting with rage. "Humans!" he spat, reaching for his weapon. Sean was faster. A precise shot from his energy pistol sent the Admiral crumpling to the floor, stunned but alive. As Jack worked to free Sarah from her restraints, Sean quickly accessed the computer terminal, erasing all records of the interrogation and planting false information that would send the Cardassians on a wild goose chase. "Jack, get her to the shuttle," Sean ordered, his fingers flying over the alien keyboard. "I'll finish up here and catch up." Jack hesitated for a moment, but a stern look from Sean sent him moving. He scooped up the barely conscious Sarah and headed for the exit. Sean continued his digital sabotage, aware of the approaching footsteps of Cardassian reinforcements. He had just finished when the door burst open, revealing a squad of heavily armed soldiers. With no time for subtlety, Sean unleashed a barrage of energy bolts, downing several Cardassians before diving into a maintenance shaft. He could hear Admiral Krell's enraged voice echoing through the station as he navigated the claustrophobic tunnels. "Find him! I want that human's head!" Sean's mind raced as he formulated an escape plan. The shuttle was no longer an option. He'd be shot down before he could clear the hangar. Then he remembered the Cardassian fighters he'd seen docked in a secondary bay. Using the confusion caused by the virus and his earlier sabotage, Sean made his way to the fighter bay. He slipped into the cockpit of one sleek, predatory craft, his hands moving instinctively over the alien controls. The bay doors opened, and Sean gunned the engines, rocketing out into space. Immediately, alarms blared as the station's defenses locked onto him. Energy beams lanced past his fighter as Sean corkscrewed and juked, putting his piloting skills to the ultimate test. He weaved through the debris field of Jupiter's rings, using the swirling fragments of ice and rock as cover. Cardassian pursuers fell behind, unable to match his daring maneuvers. With a final burst of speed, Sean cleared Jupiter's gravity well and punched in the coordinates Flora had provided. The stars stretched into lines as the fighter jumped to light speed, leaving the chaos of the Cardassian station far behind. Sean allowed himself a moment of relief, but he knew the real challenges were just beginning. Admiral Krell would not rest until he had his revenge, and the upcoming summit now held the key to humanity's survival. As he guided the stolen fighter towards the rendezvous point, Sean's mind was already racing ahead, formulating plans for their most daring operation yet. The summit was no longer just a target. It was the battleground where the fate of the human race would be decided. As Sean guided the stolen Cardassian fighter towards the rendezvous point, his mind raced with the implications of Colonel Sarah Hawkins' rescue and the intel she might possess. The fighter's communication system crackled to life. "Sean, do you copy?" Jack's voice came through, tinged with concern. "I'm here," Sean responded, relief washing over him. "Status report. We've cleared Jovian space. Sarah's stable but needs medical attention. What's our next move?" Sean's fingers danced across the alien controls, plotting a new course. "We're regrouping on Ceres. I've got a feeling we're going to need all hands on deck for what's coming." Within hours, the team had reassembled at an abandoned mining facility on Ceres, the largest asteroid in the belt. The cavernous spaces, once filled with the din of industrial machinery, now echoed with the purposeful movements of resistance fighters. Dr. Elena Rodriguez immediately set to work treating Colonel Hawkins's injuries. As the colonel regained consciousness, she began sharing crucial information about the upcoming diplomatic summit in the Empire's plans. Sean gathered his core team in a makeshift war room, the walls covered in star charts and Cardassian tactical displays. "What we've learned changes everything," he began, his voice grave. "This summit isn't just a target anymore. It's our best shot at turning the tide." Marcus Wong, his eyes alight with possibility, spoke up. "I think I can help with that. I've been working on an AI-driven analysis program. Feed it the intel from Sarah and our other sources, and it could give us a real edge." Sean nodded approvingly. "Get on it. I want every scrap of data we have run through that program." As Marcus set to work, Sean turned to Jack Chen. "We need a strike team ready for anything. Train them in every fighting style we know, human and Cardassian. I want them to be ghosts, in and out before the enemy knows what hit them." Jack grinned, cracking his knuckles. "Consider it done. Those Cardassian bastards won't know what hit them." Dr. Rodriguez approached, wiping her hands on a cloth. "Sarah's stable. She'll make a full recovery. Her expression turned thoughtful. Sean, I've been working on something that might help. A non-lethal incapacitating agent tailored to Cardassian physiology. It could give us a significant advantage in close-quarter situations. Sean's eyes narrowed, considering the possibilities. How soon can you have it ready for field use? Give me a week, Elena replied confidently. As the team dispersed to their tasks, Sean's secure communicator buzzed. Flora's familiar code flashed on the screen. He stepped away, activating the encrypted channel. Sean, I have critical information. Flora's voice was urgent. There's a secret research facility on Europa. They're developing a weapon capable of destroying entire planets. Sean's blood ran cold. Are you certain? Absolutely. The project is personally overseen by Commander Gul Dukat, Krell's right hand. Sean's mind raced, weighing their options. The summit was vital, but this new threat couldn't be ignored. Send me everything you have on the facility. We're going to hit it before the summit. Over the next few days, the resistance base on Ceres hummed with activity. Marcus's AI program churned through terabytes of data, identifying patterns and vulnerabilities in Imperial security protocols. Jack drilled his strike team relentlessly, honing their skills to a razor's edge. Elena worked tirelessly in her makeshift lab, perfecting her incapacitating agent. Sean pored over the intelligence from Flora, formulating a plan to infiltrate the Europa facility. He selected a small team for the mission: himself, Jack, and Marcus. They would use a stolen Cardassian shuttle, modified with stealth technology of Marcus's design. As they prepared for departure, Sean addressed his team. This mission is high risk, but the stakes couldn't be higher. If the Empire completes this weapon, no human world will be safe. The journey to Europa was tense, with Sean expertly piloting the modified shuttle through the treacherous Jovian system. As they approached the icy moon, Marcus's stealth systems proved their worth, allowing them to slip past the facility's outer defenses undetected. Landing on Europa's frigid surface, the team donned specialized environmental suits to protect against the extreme conditions. They trudged across the icy landscape, the distant form of Jupiter looming ominously in the sky. As they neared the facility, Jack spotted movement. "Contact 2 o'clock," he whispered over the comm. A creature unlike anything they had ever seen emerged from beneath the ice. A bioluminescent arthropod the size of a small car, its mandibles clicking menacingly. "Indigenous life form," Marcus breathed, his scanner whirring. "Adapted to Europa's conditions. Highly aggressive." Sean raised his weapon, set to stun. "Hold fire unless absolutely necessary. We can't risk alerting the facility." They skirted around the creature, their hearts pounding as they approached the research complex. Marcus interfaced with the security systems, his fingers flying over his portable console. "I'm in," he announced after several tense minutes. Security cameras looped, door locks disengaged. They slipped inside, moving swiftly through sterile corridors. The first group of Cardassian guards they encountered fell silently to Elena's incapacitating agent, delivered via dart guns. As they penetrated deeper into the facility, they encountered increasingly sophisticated security measures. Jack's hybrid combat training proved invaluable, allowing the team to overcome obstacles with a combination of human ingenuity and Cardassian techniques. Finally, they reached the heart of the complex, a vast chamber housing a device of terrifying proportions. Energy coils pulsed with awe-inspiring power, and holographic displays showed simulations of entire planets reduced to rubble. "My God," Sean whispered, the full implications of the weapon sinking in. Marcus immediately set to work, downloading schematics and research data, while Sean and Jack planted explosives at key structural points. As they finished their work, alarms suddenly blared throughout the facility. A squad of Cardassian elite troops burst into the chamber, led by a tall, imposing figure Sean recognized from intelligence briefings: Commander Gul Dukat. "Intruders!" Dukat roared, his eyes fixing on Sean with predatory intensity. "Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick." Sean's response was a precise shot that sent Dukat diving for cover. The chamber erupted into chaos as energy weapons fired from both sides. Jack engaged the Cardassian troops directly, his augmented strength and hybrid fighting style allowing him to hold his own against multiple opponents. Marcus provided support fire while simultaneously working to lock down the facility's communications, preventing them from calling for reinforcements. Sean found himself in a brutal hand-to-hand struggle with Gul Dukat. The Cardassian commander was a formidable opponent, his strength and combat training evident in every move. They traded blows, each seeking an advantage. "You're too late, human," Dukat snarled as they grappled. "The weapon is already complete. Your worlds will burn." Sean headbutted Dukat, stunning him momentarily. "Not if I have anything to say about it," he growled, following up with a series of strikes that sent the Cardassian reeling. With a final, devastating blow, Sean knocked Dukat to the ground. He stood over the fallen commander, energy pistol aimed at his head. "Do it," Dukat sneered. "Prove you're no better than us." Sean's finger tensed on the trigger, memories of his murdered children flashing through his mind. But in that moment, he made a different choice. "No," Sean said, lowering his weapon. "I'm leaving you alive, as a message to your empire. We're coming for you, and we won't stop until we're free." With that, Sean turned and sprinted towards the exit, where Jack and Marcus were waiting. They raced through the facility as the first explosions began to rock the structure. They reached their shuttle just as the research complex collapsed in on itself. The prototype planet killer and all its research data lost in a fireball visible from orbit. As they escaped Europa's gravity well, Sean allowed himself a moment of grim satisfaction. They had struck a significant blow against the Empire, but the real battle was yet to come. With the data they had retrieved and the summit fast approaching, the fate of humanity, and perhaps the entire galaxy, hung in the balance. Sean set a course back to Ceres, his mind already racing with plans for their most daring operation yet. The diplomatic summit loomed on the horizon, a crucible that would test everything they had fought for, and this time, the stakes were higher than ever before. As Sean guided the shuttle back to Ceres, his mind raced with plans for their upcoming mission. The data retrieved from the Europa facility had provided invaluable insights, but the true challenge lay ahead at the diplomatic summit. Upon their return to the asteroid base, Sean wasted no time in gathering his team for a strategic briefing. The cavernous war room buzzed with nervous energy as he laid out the stakes. "The summit is our best chance to turn the tide against the Empire," Sean began, his voice steady despite the weight of their task. "But we need every advantage we can get." Marcus stepped forward, his eyes gleaming with excitement. "I think I can help with that. My AI analysis program has been working overtime on the security protocols for the summit." The team huddled around a holographic display as Marcus explained his findings. "There's a vulnerability we can exploit. During the arrival of delegates, the station's shields will be lowered briefly to allow ships to dock. It's a narrow window, but it's our best shot at infiltration." Sean nodded, his mind already formulating a plan. "Good work, Marcus. We'll use that window to slip in undetected." Dr. Rodriguez approached, holding a small vial filled with a clear liquid. "I've completed work on the incapacitating agent," she announced. "I'm calling it Sleeper Mist. It's non-lethal, affects most alien species, but leaves humans unharmed." "Excellent," Sean replied, taking the vial. "This could be a game-changer for our operation." Jack, who had been silently observing, spoke up. "My strike team is ready. We've been focusing on stealth tactics and quick neutralization techniques. I've even developed a series of hand signals for silent communication." As the team continued to discuss strategy, Sean's secure communicator buzzed. He stepped away to answer it, recognizing Flora's code. "Sean, we have a problem." Flora's voice crackled through the encrypted channel. "Admiral Krell has implemented a new biometric security system at the summit. It can detect human biosignatures." Sean's stomach dropped. This could derail their entire plan. "Can you send me the details?" he asked, his mind already racing for solutions. "Transmitting now," Flora replied. "Be careful, Sean. Krell is pulling out all the stops for this summit." After ending the call, Sean turned to Dr. Rodriguez. "Elena, I need you to develop a genetic masking agent, something that can temporarily alter our biosignatures to fool Krell's new security system." Elena's brow furrowed in concentration. "It's possible, but I'll need Cardassian DNA samples to work with." I'll have Flora provide what you need, Sean assured her. How quickly can you have it ready? Give me 48 hours, Elena replied, drive etched on her face. As the day of the summit approached, the resistance base on Ceres became a hive of activity. Marcus fine-tuned his hacking algorithms, Jack drilled his strike team relentlessly, and Elena worked around the clock on the genetic masking agent. Finally, it was time to move. Sean's team infiltrated a Cardassian supply ship bound for the summit, concealing themselves in modified stasis pods to avoid detection during routine scans. As they approached the space station orbiting a neutral planet in the Alpha Centauri system, Sean felt the familiar surge of adrenaline. This was it, their chance to strike a decisive blow against the Empire. The team emerged from their hiding spots as the supply ship docked. Sean led the way, his senses on high alert as they moved through the cargo bay. Suddenly, a Cardassian security officer appeared, his eyes narrowing suspiciously at their container. Sean acted instinctively. In one fluid motion, he activated Elena's sleeper mist and neutralized the officer. Jack helped him quickly conceal the unconscious Cardassian, while Sean used their holographic disguise technology to assume the officer's identity. With the first hurdle cleared, the team split up to carry out their assigned tasks. Sean and Jack made their way towards the main conference room, while Marcus headed for the central computer core. Elena moved towards the environmental control center, ready to deploy the sleeper mist when the moment was right. As Sean and Jack navigated the station's corridors, they encountered increased security patrols. They used a combination of stealth, hand signals, and quick takedowns to avoid detection. Reaching the conference room's antechamber, Sean held up a hand, signaling Jack to stop. Voices drifted through the door, two high-ranking Cardassian officials deep in conversation. The delegates have no idea what's in store, one voice said, filled with smug satisfaction. When we unveil the Starbreaker, they'll have no choice but to submit to our demands. Indeed, the second voice replied. A weapon capable of destroying entire star systems. The Empire will be unstoppable. Sean's blood ran cold. He exchanged a look with Jack, both realizing the magnitude of what they had just uncovered. This was far worse than they had imagined. A superweapon that made their discovery on Europa look like a child's toy. Silently, Sean activated his comm unit. Change of plans, he whispered to his team. We're not just gathering intel anymore. We need to find a way to sabotage this superweapon presentation and expose the Empire's true intentions. As Sean relayed the new information, a piercing alarm suddenly blared throughout the station. Admiral Krell's voice boomed over the intercom, filled with rage. Attention all personnel! Human intruders have been detected on the station. Find them and eliminate them immediately. Sean's heart raced. The genetic masking agent had worn off sooner than expected. Their cover was blown, and time was running out. Marcus, what's your status? Sean hissed into his comm. I'm in the central computer core, Marcus replied, his voice tense. But security protocols are tightening by the second. I need more time. Elena, are you in position? Sean asked. Affirmative, came the doctor's response. Ready to release the sleeper mist on your command. Sean's mind whirled, trying to formulate a new plan on the fly. They needed to complete their objectives, expose the superweapon plot, and find a way off the station before Krell's forces closed in. Listen up, team, Sean said, his voice calm despite the chaos erupting around them. Here's what we're going to do. As Sean outlined their desperate new strategy, the sound of approaching footsteps echoed down the corridor. Time was running out, and the fate of humanity hung in the balance. The real battle was about to begin. Listen up, team, Sean said, his voice calm despite the chaos erupting around them. Here's what we're going to do. Before Sean could finish outlining their desperate new strategy, the approaching footsteps grew louder. He locked eyes with Jack, both men tensing for action. Change of plans, Sean whispered urgently. Marcus, prioritize hacking the central computer core. Focus on security systems and comms. Elena, release the sleeper mist now. We need to move fast. Jack nodded, his augmented muscles coiled and ready. Sean tapped his comm unit. Copy that, Marcus's voice crackled. I'm on it. Seconds later, a faint hiss filled the air as the sleeper mist began filtering through the station's ventilation system. Shouts of confusion echoed down the corridors as Cardassian security forces succumbed to the non-lethal gas. Sean and Jack sprinted towards the main conference room, their path now clearer but far from empty. A trio of Cardassian guards, faces obscured by hastily donned gas masks, rounded the corner. Jack moved with inhuman speed, closing the distance before the guards could raise their weapons. His hybrid fighting style was a blur of strikes and grapples, augmented strength allowing him to toss one guard into another. Sean engaged the third, ducking under a wild swing and countering with a precise strike to the Cardassian's throat. The guard stumbled, gasping, and Sean followed up with a swift kick that sent him crashing into the wall. "Nice moves, old man," Jack quipped, standing over the unconscious Cardassians. Sean allowed himself a grim smile. "Still got it. Come on, we need to reach that conference room." They pressed on, encountering pockets of resistance from guards who had managed to protect themselves from the sleeper mist. Each skirmish was brief but intense, Sean's tactical acumen complementing Jack's raw power. As they approached the conference room, voices drifted through the door, panicked and angry. "What's happening?" a delegate demanded. "We're under attack." "Remain calm," a Cardassian official insisted. "Security forces are handling the situation." Sean caught Jack's eye and nodded. They slipped into the room, unnoticed amidst the chaos. Delegates from various species argued loudly, while Cardassian officials attempted to maintain order. Sean scanned the room, quickly locating a data storage device on the main podium. He moved swiftly, swapping it with the modified version Marcus had prepared. "Got it," Sean muttered into his comm. "Marcus, what's your status?" "I've breached the core," Marcus replied, his voice strained with concentration. "Locking down sections of the station now. Krell's comms are scrambled." As if on cue, Admiral Krell's voice boomed over the intercom, distorted and cutting in and out. "All high-ranking, evacuate immediately, human intruders." The conference room erupted into fresh chaos. Sean and Jack used the confusion to slip out undetected, making their way towards the rendezvous point with Elena. "Sean!" Elena's voice came through the comm. "I'm pinned down near environmental control. Heavy resistance here." "On our way," Sean replied, changing course. "Hold tight." They found Elena crouched behind a makeshift barricade, energy bolts sizzling overhead. A squad of elite Cardassian troops had cornered her, their weapons set to lethal. Sean assessed the situation in an instant. "Jack, go high. I'll draw their fire." He darted from cover, firing precise shots that forced the Cardassians to duck. Jack vaulted over the barricade, using his enhanced agility to close the distance rapidly. The Cardassians, focus split between the two threats, faltered. Jack crashed into their ranks like a battering ram, scattering them. Sean's covering fire picked off those who tried to regroup. In moments, the squad was neutralized. Jack hissed in pain, clutching his left arm where an energy bolt had grazed him. "You okay?" Sean asked, helping Elena to her feet. Jack nodded grimly. "I'll live. Let's move." The team fought their way towards the docking bay, Sean's tactical mind guiding them through the least defended routes. Marcus's voice crackled over the comm. "I've found us a ride," he reported. "Cardassian scout ship in Bay 3, fast and well armed." "Good work," Sean replied. "We're on our way. Be ready for a quick exit." As they neared the docking bay, Sean's comm unit buzzed again. "Incoming," Marcus warned. "Large Cardassian force heading your way, led by... Wait, it's Gul Dukat." Sean's eyebrows furrowed. "Of course it is. Marcus, can you buy us some time?" "On it," Marcus replied. Seconds later, a series of explosions rocked the station. Alarms blared as the power fluctuated. "What did you do?" Elena asked wide-eyed. "Overloaded the power core," Marcus explained. "Controlled detonations in uninhabited areas. Should keep them busy." The team reached the docking bay, finding it in disarray. Cardassian soldiers scrambled to respond to the new threat, but a group led by Gul Dukat stood firm, guarding the scout ship. "There they are!" Dukat roared, his eyes locking onto Sean. "Take them down!" Energy bolts filled the air as Sean and his team dove for cover. Jack, grimacing through the pain in his arm, returned fire with deadly accuracy. Elena produced a small device from her pack. "Cover me!" she shouted, activating it. A shimmering energy field sprang up, deflecting incoming fire. Sean seized the moment, charging towards Dukat. The Cardassian commander met him halfway, and they clashed in a furious hand-to-hand struggle. Dukat's strength was formidable, but Sean's human agility and adaptability kept him in the fight. They traded blows, each seeking an advantage. "You're finished, human," Dukat snarled, landing a heavy punch to Sean's ribs. Sean stumbled back, gasping. His hand closed around a fallen Cardassian weapon. In one fluid motion, he brought it up and fired. The energy pulse caught Dukat square in the chest, hurling him back. He lay stunned, struggling to rise. "Everyone, move!" Sean shouted. "To the ship now!" They raced up the scout ship's boarding ramp, Jack providing covering fire. Marcus was already at the controls, his fingers dancing across the unfamiliar interface. "Bypassing security lockouts," he muttered. "Almost there." "Got it." The engines roared to life as the boarding ramp sealed shut. Sean took the helm, guiding the ship out of the docking bay with practiced ease. As they cleared the station, the true scale of their actions became apparent. Ships of all sizes fled the area, the summit thoroughly disrupted. Sean allowed himself a moment of satisfaction, but it was short-lived. The ship's sensors blared a warning. "Multiple contacts," Marcus reported, his voice tight. "Cardassian warships closing fast. It's Krell's fleet." Sean's hands tightened on the controls. They had struck a significant blow against the Empire, but their mission was not nearly finished. With Admiral Krell in pursuit and their resources limited, the greatest challenge yet lay ahead. "Hold on, everyone," Sean said, pushing the engines to maximum. "This is going to get rough." Rough. The ship lurched violently as Sean banked hard to avoid a barrage of energy blasts from the pursuing Cardassian warships. "Shields down to 60%, Marcus reported, his fingers dancing across the unfamiliar controls. "I'm rerouting power from non-essential systems to boost our defenses." Sean's eyebrows furrowed as he weaved through the onslaught of weapons fire. The scout ship, while nimble, was vastly outgunned by Admiral Krell's fleet. He knew they couldn't outrun or outfight their pursuers indefinitely. "We need options," Sean said, his voice taut with concentration. His eyes scanned the tactical display, searching for any advantage. Suddenly, a cluster of irregular shapes caught his attention. "There, asteroid field ahead. It's risky, but it might give us the cover we need." Jack, nursing his injured arm, leaned forward to study the display. "Those rocks look pretty densely packed. You sure about this?" Sean allowed himself a grim smile. "No, but it beats getting blown to atoms out here." He pushed the engines to their limit, angling the ship towards the looming field of tumbling space rocks. The Cardassian ships followed, their superior numbers allowing them to spread out and maintain their pursuit. As they entered the asteroid field, Sean's hands became a blur of motion on the controls. The scout ship danced between massive chunks of rock, each near miss eliciting a collective held breath from the crew. Behind them, several Cardassian ships weren't so fortunate. Explosions blossomed in the void as less skilled pilots succumbed to the treacherous terrain. "It's working," Elena observed, her fingers tightening as she gripped her seat. "We're losing them." But their brief moment of hope was short-lived. The ship's sensors blared a warning as new contacts appeared on the tactical display. "Krell's no fool," Sean muttered. "He's got ships waiting for us on the other side of the field." Marcus swore under his breath. "We're being boxed in. What now?" Elena's eyes lit up with a desperate idea. "The ship's weapons? Could we use them to trigger a chain reaction in the asteroid field? Create a debris cloud to mask our escape?" Sean nodded, a spark of admiration in his eyes. "It's worth a shot. Jack, you're on weapons. Target the largest asteroids you can find." Jack took control of the weapon systems, his augmented reflexes allowing him to aim with uncanny precision, despite the ship's erratic movements. Energy blasts lanced out, striking key points in the asteroid field. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a silent flash, the first asteroid shattered. The explosion triggered a cascade, each detonation setting off the next in a spectacular display of destruction. "Brace yourselves," Sean warned as he banked the ship hard, using the spreading cloud of debris as cover. The scout ship bucked and shuddered as smaller fragments pelted its hull. Alarms blared throughout the cockpit as multiple systems reported damage. "Shields critical," Marcus reported, his voice strained. "Engine temperature redlining. We can't take much more of this." Sean gritted his teeth, pushing the ship to its absolute limit. Through the debris cloud, he spotted a gap in the Cardassian formation, their one chance at freedom. "Hold on!" he shouted, ramming the throttle forward. The ship burst from the asteroid field like a bullet from a gun, catching the Cardassian fleet off guard. For a breathless moment, it seemed they might make it. Then a lucky shot from one of Krell's ships struck their port engine. The scout ship spun wildly, alarms screaming as system after system failed. "We've lost main propulsion," Marcus yelled over the cacophony. "Auxiliary power failing. We're sitting ducks." Sean fought the controls, struggling to stabilize their trajectory. His mind raced, searching for any possible way out of their predicament. "There!" he exclaimed, pointing to a massive gas giant looming in the distance. "Marcus, can we use its gravity to slingshot us out of here?" Marcus's fingers flew over the console, performing rapid calculations. "Maybe, but it's going to be close. The gravitational stresses could tear us apart." "Better than waiting for Krell to finish the job," Sean replied grimly. "Everyone, strap in tight. This is going to get rough." He angled the crippled ship towards the gas giant, using what little maneuvering power they had left to fine-tune their approach. As they neared the massive planet, its gravitational pull began to take hold. The ship groaned and creaked ominously as it accelerated, skimming the upper layers of the gas giant's turbulent atmosphere. Warning klaxons blared, reporting multiple hull breaches and system failures. "Come on," Sean muttered, his fist clenched on the controls. "Hold together." For a heart-stopping moment, it seemed the ship would break apart under the strain. Then, with a final wrenching shudder, they cleared the planet's gravity well, hurtling away from their pursuers at incredible speed. A ragged cheer went up from the team, but their elation was short-lived. Marcus's voice cut through the moment of triumph, filled with dread. "Massive energy spike detected," he reported. "It's coming from Krell's flagship. I think they're powering up the superweapon." Sean's blood ran cold as he realized the implications. The weapon they had discovered earlier, capable of destroying entire star systems, was about to be unleashed upon them. "Options!" he barked, scanning the ship's readouts for anything that might save them. Marcus hesitated for a split second before responding. "There's one possibility. The experimental faster-than-light drive. We've never tested it, but—" "Do it," Sean ordered without hesitation. "Divert all remaining power to the drive." As Marcus worked feverishly to activate the untested technology, Sean watched the tactical display with growing horror. A blinding point of light had formed at the bow of Krell's flagship, growing rapidly in intensity. "Drive online," Marcus reported. "But Sean, I have to warn you. The risk of drive failure or spatial displacement is—" "No time," Sean cut him off, his hand hovering over the activation switch. "It's now or never." Just as the superweapon's energy beam lanced out towards them, Sean slammed his palm down on the switch. The scout ship vanished in a flash of brilliant light, leaving behind only the rapidly expanding beam of destruction. For the occupants of the ship, reality itself seemed to twist and contort. They experienced a series of violent, uncontrolled jumps through space, each one taking them further from known territory. The ship bucked and shuddered, systems failing in cascading waves, as the experimental drive pushed far beyond its intended limits. When the chaos finally subsided, the scout ship drifted in an unfamiliar starfield, its hull scarred and blackened. Emergency power flickered on, casting an eerie red glow throughout the interior. Sean, his head spinning from the wild journey, forced himself to focus on the immediate situation. "Status report," he croaked, his voice hoarse. Marcus, looking pale and shaken, scanned the few functioning readouts. "We're alive. Barely. Life support is holding, but that's about all we've got. Engines are dead, navigation's offline. We're adrift." Elena, who had been monitoring the external sensors, added grimly, "And we're definitely not in Kansas anymore. I don't recognize any of these star patterns. We're completely off the map." The gravity of their situation settled over the team like a heavy blanket. They had escaped certain death at the hands of Admiral Krell, but now found themselves lost in unknown space, their ship critically damaged and resources dwindling. Sean took a deep breath, steadying himself. Despite the dire circumstances, they were alive, and they had vital intelligence about the Cardassian superweapon. Somehow, they needed to find a way home and warn the human resistance about the impending threat. "All right, team," Sean said, his voice growing stronger as he spoke. "We're in a tough spot, but we're not done yet. Here's what we're going to do. First things first, we need to assess our situation and get this ship back in working order." The team sprang into action, each member focusing on their area of expertise. Marcus immediately set to work on the ship's systems, his fingers flying over the damaged consoles as he tried to coax some life back into the vital components. "Power levels are critically low," he reported, his voice tight with concentration. "I'm rerouting what's left to essential systems, but we're running on fumes here." Elena moved swiftly through the ship, her medical training kicking in as she checked on each team member. She paused at Jack's side, examining the angry burn on his arm from the earlier firefight. "This needs attention," she said, pulling out a medkit from a nearby compartment. "Hold still, Jack. This might sting a bit." Jack gritted his teeth as Elena applied a cooling gel to the wound, then wrapped it in a protective bandage. "Thanks, Doc," he muttered, flexing his fingers experimentally. Sean, meanwhile, had taken stock of their navigational systems. The news wasn't good. "The FTL drive is completely fried," he announced grimly. "We're limited to sublight propulsion, assuming Marcus can get the engines back online." As if on cue, a series of lights flickered to life on the main console. Marcus allowed himself a small smile of satisfaction. "Emergency power restored. It's not much, but it'll keep life support running and give us limited sensor capability." Sean nodded his approval. "Good work. Let's see what's out there." He initiated a short-range scan, hoping to get some bearing on their location. The results that came back were both surprising and concerning. "I'm picking up a planetary system nearby," Sean reported, studying the readout carefully. "And one of the planets is showing signs of being able to support life." Elena leaned in to examine the data. "It's not ideal, but the atmosphere is breathable. Given our current state, it might be our best option." Sean weighed their choices quickly. With their ship damaged and resources dwindling, they had little choice. "Agreed. Marcus, can you get us there?" Marcus nodded, his hands already moving across the controls. "I can give you enough power for sublight travel. It'll take a few days, but we should make it." As they set course for the mysterious planet, the team used the time to analyze the data they'd managed to steal from the Cardassian summit. The information they uncovered about the superweapon and the Empire's plans sent a chill through the group. If they managed to deploy this on a large scale, Jack's voice trailed off, the implications too horrific to voice. Sean's eyes hardened. "Then we need to make sure that doesn't happen. Somehow, we have to find a way back and warn the Resistance." As they approached the planet, a new challenge presented itself. A dense field of space debris surrounded their destination, a treacherous obstacle course of jagged metal and rock. Sean took manual control, his hands steady on the helm as he guided their battered ship through the debris field. The others held their breath, watching as he threaded the needle between spinning chunks of wreckage that could easily tear their hull apart. "Hang on," Sean warned as a particularly large piece of debris loomed before them. He banked hard to starboard, the ship's frame groaning in protest as they narrowly avoided a collision. Finally, they broke through the debris field and entered the planet's atmosphere. The ship shuddered violently, alarms blaring as the remaining systems struggled to cope with the strain of atmospheric entry. "We're coming in too hot," Marcus shouted over the din. "The hull integrity is failing." Sean fought with the controls, trying to level their descent. The ground rushed up to meet them, a rocky landscape with sparse patches of alien vegetation. "Brace for impact," Sean yelled. The ship slammed into the ground, skidding across the rocky terrain before coming to a shuddering halt. For a moment, all was silent except for the hiss of ruptured conduits and the ping of cooling metal. Then, slowly, the team began to stir. Sean pushed himself up from the floor, his head spinning. "Everyone okay?" A chorus of groans answered him as the others picked themselves up. Miraculously, they had all survived the crash, though the ship had seen better days. "We need to get out and assess our situation," Sean said, moving towards the emergency hatch. "Grab whatever supplies you can. We don't know what we're walking into out there." As the hatch opened with a hiss of equalizing pressure, the team got their first real look at the alien world they now found themselves stranded on. The air was thin but breathable, carrying a faint metallic tang. Twin suns hung low on the horizon, casting long shadows across a landscape of rust-colored rocks and twisted, hardy-looking plants. Sean stepped out onto the alien soil, his hand resting on his weapon as he scanned their surroundings. "Let's salvage what we can from the ship and set up a perimeter. We need to be ready for anything." As the others began the work of retrieving supplies and equipment from the wreckage, Marcus approached Sean with a puzzled expression on his face. "Sean, you need to see this," he said, holding out a portable scanner. "I'm picking up faint energy signatures about 20 kilometers from our position. It could be nothing, but... Or it could be our ticket off this rock," Sean finished, a glimmer of hope in his eyes. He turned to address the team. "All right, people. We've got a new mission. Once we've secured our position here, we're going to check out those energy readings. With any luck, they'll lead us to something that can get us home." As the twin suns began to set, casting an eerie purple glow across the alien landscape, Sean couldn't help but feel a mix of apprehension and excitement. They were lost, yes, but they were alive. And as long as they were alive, there was hope. Hope of returning home, and hope of stopping the Cardassian Empire's nefarious plans. Little did Sean know that their greatest challenge yet awaited them, hidden among the ruins of an ancient civilization that would test their skills, their teamwork, and their very understanding of the universe itself. As the team ventured deeper into the alien ruins, the air grew thick with tension. The eerie silence that had enveloped them since their arrival was suddenly shattered by a series of metallic clicks and whirs. "Movement ahead," Jack whispered, his hand instinctively reaching for his weapon. Sean held up a fist, signaling the team to halt. He peered around a partially collapsed pillar, his eyes widening at the sight before him. In the heart of the ancient complex, a group of robotic guardians had sprung to life, their optics glowing an ominous red. "We've got company," Sean said, his voice low and urgent. "Looks like we've triggered some kind of defense system." Marcus scanned the area with his portable device. "I'm picking up at least a dozen active units. Their energy signatures are off the charts. These aren't some half-functioning relics." The team quickly retreated to a more defensible position, huddling behind a chunk of fallen masonry. Sean's mind raced, assessing their dire situation. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and trapped in unfamiliar territory. "All right, listen up," Sean said, his voice steady despite the circumstances. "We're in a tight spot, but we've got a few advantages. These ruins are a maze. We can use that to our advantage. Jack, you're with me. We're going to create a diversion, draw most of them away from the central chamber. Marcus, you focus on figuring out that alien tech we saw earlier. It might be our ticket out of here." Jack nodded grimly, checking his weapon. "What's the plan, boss?" Sean reached into his pack, pulling out a handful of makeshift explosives they'd cobbled together from their salvaged equipment. "We're going to play a little game of cat and mouse. Set these charges at key points. We'll use controlled cave-ins to limit their mobility and create choke points." As Sean and Jack moved out, Marcus made his way toward the central chamber, keeping to the shadows. The sounds of battle soon echoed through the ruins, the staccato of weapons fire mixed with the crash of collapsing stone. In the central chamber, Marcus found himself face-to-face with an enormous machine, its surface covered in intricate patterns and pulsing with a soft blue light. He recognized it immediately as some kind of advanced communication array. "This is it," he muttered to himself, his fingers already dancing across the alien interface. "Now, how do I turn you on?" As Marcus worked, he could hear the sounds of combat drawing closer. Jack appeared at the entrance to the chamber, his clothing torn and face streaked with grime. "Whatever you're doing, do it fast," Jack panted. "Sean's holding them off, but we can't keep this up forever." Marcus nodded, his brow furrowed in concentration. The alien technology was incredibly complex, its activation sequence protected by a series of mathematical puzzles that pushed even his considerable intellect to its limits. Come on, Marcus muttered, his fingers flying across the interface. Sweat beaded on his forehead as he worked through equation after equation, each one more challenging than the last. Just as the sound of Sean's last explosive echoed through the ruins, Marcus let out a triumphant shout. The communication array hummed to life, its blue glow intensifying. Suddenly, the robotic guardians froze in place, their red optics fading to black. Sean cautiously entered the chamber, his weapons still at the ready. "What just happened?" he asked, eyeing the deactivated robots warily. Marcus shook his head, equally puzzled. "I'm not sure. When I activated the array, it must have sent out some kind of shutdown signal." With the immediate threat neutralized, the team regrouped in the central chamber. Elena quickly tended to their injuries, applying antiseptic to cuts and bandaging burns. "So, what now?" Jack asked, wincing as Elena cleaned a particularly nasty gash on his arm. Sean turned to Marcus. "Can you use this thing to send a distress signal?" Marcus nodded, already back at the alien console. "I think so. I'll calibrate it to broadcast on frequencies used by the Resistance. With this much power behind it, we might be able to reach pretty far." As Marcus worked on the signal, Sean and Jack began exploring more of the ruins. They discovered vast databanks filled with information about the civilization that had built this place. "Look at this," Sean called out, gesturing to a holographic display he'd managed to activate. These precursors, they had interstellar travel millions of years ago, but something happened to them. They just vanished. Jack let out a low whistle. "If we could get some of this tech back to the Resistance..." Sean nodded, his eyes gleaming with commitment. "Exactly. Marcus, when you're done with that signal, I want you to download as much of this data as you can. Weapons, defenses, anything that might give us an edge against the Empire." Days passed as they waited for a response to their signal. They ventured out into the alien landscape, foraging for food and water, always on guard against the planet's dangerous wildlife. On the 5th day, as their supplies dwindled to critical levels, the communication array suddenly sprang to life. The team gathered around, their hearts racing with anticipation. But the message that came through wasn't what they had expected. Instead of the familiar codes of the human Resistance, they heard an alien language, complex and utterly foreign. Marcus frowned as he worked to decipher the transmission. "It's not from our allies," he said, his voice tense. "It's a completely unknown species." Sean's mind raced, weighing their options. They were stranded on an alien world, their resources almost exhausted. This communication could be their salvation, or it could lead to their capture, or worse. As he contemplated their next move, Sean realized that the decision they made now could have far-reaching consequences. The precursor technology they'd discovered, combined with contact with this new alien race, had the potential to shift the balance of power in their war against the Galactic Empire. Sean took a deep breath, keenly aware of his team's eyes upon him, waiting for his decision. Whatever choice he made, he knew it would set them on a path that would not only determine their own fate, but could potentially alter the course of the entire conflict. "All right," he said finally, his voice firm. "Here's what we're going to do." "Do." Sean's voice was firm, his decision made. "We're going to respond to that transmission." The team exchanged nervous glances, but no one voiced any objections. They all knew the stakes, stranded on an alien world with dwindling supplies. This mysterious signal might be their only hope of survival. Marcus nodded, his fingers already dancing across the alien interface. "I'll start working on a response right away. I've deciphered enough of their language structure to communicate basic concepts, but we'll need to be careful about how much we reveal." Sean placed a hand on Marcus's shoulder. "Good. Keep it simple. Let them know we're here and in need of assistance, but don't give away any specifics about who we are or where we're from. We can't risk this information falling into the wrong hands." As Marcus worked, the rest of the team busied themselves with securing their makeshift camp and continuing to explore the ruins. Jack and Elena ventured deeper into the complex, documenting the ancient technology they encountered. Hours passed before Marcus finally looked up from the console, his eyes red-rimmed from the strain. "It's done. I've sent a basic distress call using their communication protocols. Now, we wait." They didn't have to wait long. Within minutes, the alien array hummed to life once more, a stream of data flooding the holographic display. Marcus's eyes widened as he translated the incoming message. "They're calling themselves the Zarkon. They're offering to help us." Sean leaned in, studying the alien script. "What exactly did they say?" "They're curious about our presence here," Marcus explained. "They've offered to send a diplomatic vessel to make first contact and provide aid." A tense silence fell over the group as they considered the implications. Sean paced the chamber, weighing their options. "All right," he said finally. "We'll accept their offer, but we stay on high alert. Jack, I want you to remain here at the ruins with half the team. Guard our discoveries and be ready to initiate the self-destruct sequence if things go south. The rest of us will meet the Zarkon when they arrive." The next few days passed in a flurry of activity. Marcus made significant progress in understanding the precursor's energy manipulation techniques, while the others prepared for their alien visitors. When the Zarkon ship finally appeared in the sky, a mix of anticipation and apprehension filled the air. Sean led a small group to the designated landing site, his hand never far from his weapon. The alien vessel touched down with barely a sound, its sleek form unlike anything the humans had ever seen. A hatch opened, and out stepped the Zarkon delegation. Sean's breath caught in his throat as he took in the appearance of the aliens. They were tall, insectoid creatures with iridescent exoskeletons and multiple limbs. At their head was a female Sean assumed to be their leader, her antennae twitching as she surveyed the humans. "Greetings," the alien spoke, her voice a mix of clicks and whistles that was somehow understandable. "I am Ambassador Krelna of the Zarkon. We come in peace and offer our assistance." Sean stepped forward, his posture straight and confident despite his racing heart. "I'm Sean Murray. On behalf of my team, I thank you for your offer of help. We find ourselves in a difficult situation and would greatly appreciate any aid you can provide." As the two groups began to interact, the initial tension slowly eased. The Zarkon provided much-needed supplies and offered to help repair the human ship. In return, they requested access to study the precursor ruins. Sean agreed but insisted on maintaining control over the most sensitive areas of the complex. As they worked together, he learned that the Zarkon, too, had suffered under the oppressive rule of the Galactic Empire. "We have been building a coalition," Ambassador Krelna revealed during one of their discussions. "Many races chafe under the Empire's rule. We seek to unite them, to overthrow the tyrants who would enslave us all." Sean's mind raced with the possibilities this presented. He shared information about the human resistance in the Cardassian superweapon, watching as the ambassador's compound eyes widened in alarm. "This weapon you speak of, it could shift the balance of power entirely," Krelna said. "We must act quickly. We will help you return to your people to warn them of this threat." As preparations for their departure began, Marcus and the Zarkon scientists made a breakthrough. They uncovered plans for an advanced shield system capable of protecting entire planets. But their progress was cut short by a dire warning from a Zarkon long-range scout. An Imperial fleet led by the notorious Admiral Krell had entered the sector. Sean's mind whirled as he formulated a plan. "We'll use the precursor array to send out false signals, misdirect the Imperial fleet. Can your ships provide escort for us through the blockade?" Ambassador Krelna's antennae twitched in affirmation. "It will be done. We stand with you against the Empire." As alarms blared, signaling the approach of Imperial scout ships, Sean and his team rushed to board their newly repaired vessel. Around them, Zarkon ships formed a protective formation. Sean's hand hovered over the detonator that would destroy the precursor ruins. He hesitated for a moment, then pressed the button. Behind them, explosions rocked the ancient complex, ensuring its secrets would never fall into Imperial hands. As they broke atmosphere, Marcus activated the precursor array. The local space lit up with false signals, confusing the Imperial fleet's sensors. Sean gripped the ship's controls tightly as they accelerated away from the planet. Through the view screen, he watched the first Imperial ships enter orbit behind them. The race to reach friendly space and warn the resistance had begun. As stars streaked past them, Sean exchanged a look with his team. They had found unexpected allies and powerful technology, but the real battle lay ahead. The fate of humanity, and perhaps the entire galaxy, now rested on their ability to outrun the Empire and deliver their vital intelligence. The ship shuddered as it entered hyperspace, leaving the alien world and their Zarkon allies behind. Sean set course for the nearest resistance outpost, knowing that every second counted. The information they carried could change the course of the war, if they could get it to the right people in time. Sean gripped the controls tightly, his squeezing hard as he pushed the ship to its limits. The Zarkon escort vessels flanked them, their sleek forms cutting through space with graceful efficiency. Suddenly, the sensors lit up with multiple contacts. Sean's heart raced as he recognized the distinctive energy signatures of Imperial scout ships. "We've got company!" he shouted, his voice tense but controlled. "Marcus, reroute all available power to shields and weapons. Jack, Elena, man the turrets." The first wave of Imperial scouts closed in rapidly, their laser fire streaking past the fleeing ships. Sean's expert piloting skills came into play as he weaved through the barrage, the ship's hull groaning under the strain of his evasive maneuvers. Jack's voice crackled over the intercom. "2 bogeys on our 6. Sean banked hard, giving Jack a clear shot. The turret roared to life, spitting out a stream of plasma bolts that tore through one of the pursuing scouts. The second scout veered off, only to be caught in the crossfire of a Zarkon vessel. Ambassador Krellna's face appeared on the interface, her compound eyes glinting with dedication. "We'll clear a path for you. Prepare to make a run for it on my mark." The Zarkon ships moved into a tight formation, concentrating their fire on a weak point in the Imperial line. Explosions blossomed in the void as enemy vessels disintegrated under the onslaught. "Now!" Krellna commanded. Sean didn't hesitate. He gunned the engines, pushing them well past their safety limits. The ship shot forward, threading the needle between 2 smoldering Imperial wrecks. But their victory was short-lived. The main sensors pinged ominously, displaying a massive cluster of ships approaching fast. Marcus's face paled as he studied the readouts. "It's the main Imperial fleet. They're led by Admiral Krell's flagship." Sean's eyes hardened. He knew Krell's reputation for ruthlessness and cunning. The Admiral's presence meant this chase had just become infinitely more dangerous. Krellna's voice crackled over the comms. "We're detecting a transmission from the Imperial flagship. They're ordering all ships to pursue and capture us at any cost." Sean's mind raced, searching for a way out. His eyes darted across the navigational display, finally settling on a dense field of asteroids directly ahead. "I've got an idea," he said, his voice steady despite the tension. "Marcus, how's that precursor shield technology coming along?" Marcus nodded, understanding immediately. "I've managed to integrate it into our systems. It should hold against minor impacts." Sean opened a channel to the Zarkon ships. "Follow us into the asteroid field. Use the precursor shielding. The Imperials won't be able to follow us closely without it." He angled the ship towards the sea of tumbling rocks, acutely aware of the pursuing fleet behind them. As they entered the field, the ship shuddered with each impact, but the precursor shields held firm, deflecting the smaller asteroids with ease. Behind them, the Imperial fleet faltered. Without the advanced shielding, they were forced to navigate more cautiously, their progress slowing to a crawl. Marcus worked feverishly at his console, fine-tuning their sensors with some of the salvaged precursor tech. Suddenly, he let out a gasp of surprise. "Sean, I'm detecting some kind of spatial anomaly at the edge of the asteroid field. It's unlike anything I've ever seen before." Sean glanced at the readout, then back at the closing Imperial ships. He made a split-second decision. "Everyone, hold on tight. We're going in." He pushed the ship towards the anomaly, the Zarkon escorts following close behind. As they approached, space itself seemed to warp and twist around them. There was a blinding flash of light, a moment of disorientation, and then they emerged into an unfamiliar sector of space, surrounded by star systems none of them recognized. The Imperial fleet was nowhere to be seen. As the team caught their breath, the ship's engines sputtered and died. The long-range jump had taken its toll on their already strained systems. Ambassador Krelna's face appeared on the interface once more. Our long-range scanners have detected a habitable planet nearby. We can tow your ship there for repairs. Sean nodded gratefully. As they approached the planet, their sensors picked up signs of an advanced civilization. A transmission in an unknown language hailed their approach. Drawing on his experience with first contact situations, Sean opened a channel. "This is Sean Murray of the Earthship Defiant. We come in peace and request permission to land for repairs." There was a moment of silence, then a response came through. The language was strange, but somehow Sean found he could understand it. "We are the Nixari. You may approach. We are curious about your presence here." As they descended towards the planet's surface, Sean exchanged glances with his team. They had escaped the Empire for now, but new challenges, and perhaps new allies, awaited them on the surface of this alien world. As their ships descended through the atmosphere, Sean marveled at the alien cityscape below. Towering spires of crystalline material stretched towards the sky, connected by intricate networks of elevated pathways. The architecture was both beautiful and alien, unlike anything he had ever seen. Upon landing, they were greeted by a delegation of Nixari officials. The aliens were tall, slender beings with iridescent skin that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. Their large almond-shaped eyes regarded the newcomers with keen interest. "Welcome to Nixari Prime," said the lead alien, its melodious voice somehow conveying warmth despite its otherworldly timbre. "I am High Counselor Zephyra. We have much to discuss." Over the next few days, Sean and his team found themselves at the center of a whirlwind of diplomatic activity. Word of their arrival had spread quickly, and representatives from various alien races began pouring into the Nixari capital. The conference to discuss the formation of a galactic alliance against the Empire was hastily organized, with Sean taking a central role in the proceedings. In a vast domed chamber that seemed to glow with an inner light, Sean stood before delegates from dozens of worlds. He shared everything they had learned about the Empire's superweapon and the atrocities committed against humanity and other species. The room buzzed with a cacophony of alien languages as translators worked overtime to keep up with the discussions. "We have all suffered under Imperial rule," Sean said, his voice carrying across the chamber. "But together, we have a chance to fight back, to reclaim our freedom and ensure a future for all our peoples." As he spoke, Sean noticed a grizzled-looking alien watching him intently from the sidelines. The being's skin was a mottled gray, and a series of ridges ran along its skull. When Sean finished his address, the alien approached him. "Impressive speech, human," the alien said, its voice a low rumble. "I am Ambassador Zorn of the Vargans. We have some experience dealing with Imperial tactics that might prove useful to your cause." Sean quickly learned that the Vargans were renowned for their strategic minds and advanced cloaking technology. Ambassador Zorn became a valuable ally, offering experienced counsel on galactic politics and military strategy. As discussions progressed, the alliance began to take shape. Member species agreed to share technology, resources, and military assets. The Nixari offered their advanced shielding systems, while the Zarkon contributed their expertise in faster-than-light travel. Other races brought unique technologies and abilities to the table, creating a diverse and formidable force. Outside the conference hall, Jack Chen led Joint Defense Force training exercises on the planet's surface. Sean watched from a viewing platform as creatures of all shapes and sizes moved in coordinated patterns, combining their unique abilities in combat simulations. The sight drew attention from many conference attendees, serving as a powerful symbol of unity against the Empire. Meanwhile, Marcus Wong worked tirelessly with a team of multi-species engineers. They made a breakthrough in adapting precursor technology, successfully integrating the ancient teleportation device that had brought them to Nixari space into a smaller, more efficient design. "Sean, you've got to see this," Marcus called out excitedly one evening. He activated the device and a shimmering portal appeared in the air. "We can now create stable wormholes between any 2 points in space. This could revolutionize our tactical capabilities." Dr. Elena Rodriguez was also making progress. Working with Nixari and Zarkon scientists, she developed a countermeasure against the Empire's superweapon. By combining precursor energy manipulation techniques with Nixari crystalline technology, They created a prototype device capable of disrupting the superweapon's energy matrix. It's not perfect, Elena explained, holding up a small, glowing crystal. We need to test it under real-world conditions to ensure its effectiveness, but it's our best shot at neutralizing the Empire's greatest advantage. As the conference reached its final stages, a sense of hope and unity permeated the air. But the newfound optimism was shattered when long-range sensors detected a massive Imperial fleet entering the sector, led by Admiral Krell's flagship. The news sent shockwaves through the assembly. Sean gathered with Ambassador Zorn, High Counselor Zephyra, and other key leaders to formulate a plan. "We need to evacuate the Nixari homeworld," Sean said, studying a holographic map of the sector. "Disperse our forces to predetermined rally points throughout the sector. We can't risk losing everything we've built here in one battle." As evacuation procedures began, Sean made a critical decision. He turned to the assembled leaders, his mind focused. "I'm going to lead a strike team to infiltrate Admiral Krell's flagship," he announced. "We need intelligence on their battle plans, and it's our best chance to test Dr. Rodriguez's countermeasure in the field." Ambassador Zorn nodded approvingly. "A bold move, human. I'll provide you with one of our Vargan stealth ships. It should get you past Imperial sensors undetected." Sean quickly assembled his team. Jack for combat expertise, Marcus for technical support, and a select group of alien specialists chosen for their unique abilities. As they prepared to board the Vargan ship, Sean took one last look at the Nixari capital. Ships of various designs and origins were taking to the skies, forming a makeshift armada. The Nixari activated their planetary defense systems, crystalline towers humming with energy. The Vargan ship was unlike anything Sean had ever seen. Its hull seemed to shift and blur, making it difficult to focus on. As they boarded, Ambassador Zorn gave Sean a final piece of advice. "Remember, human, the Empire's strength lies in its uniformity. Our diversity is our greatest weapon against them." With those words echoing in his mind, Sean took the helm. The ship's cloaking device engaged, rendering them invisible to both eye and sensor. As they set course for Admiral Krell's flagship, Sean caught a glimpse of the Alliance fleet assembling in orbit. It was an awe-inspiring sight, a testament to the unity they had achieved in such a short time. The Vargan ship slipped silently into the void, carrying Sean and his team towards the heart of the Imperial fleet. Behind them, the forces of the newly formed alliance prepared for the impending battle. The fate of humanity and all alien species hung in the balance as this ragtag coalition of species stood against the might of the Galactic Empire. As they approached the imposing silhouette of Admiral Krell's flagship, Sean's grip tightened on the controls. The real test of their fledgling alliance was about to begin. The Vargan ship's cloaking technology proved its worth as they approached the Imperial fleet. The vessel's sleek design allowed it to slip between the massive warships undetected, its hull shimmering and blending with the star-studded backdrop of space. Sean's eyes narrowed as he studied the looming silhouette of Admiral Krell's flagship. The behemoth dwarfed the surrounding vessels, its hull overflowing with weapon emplacements and sensor arrays. As they drew closer, Sean felt a familiar tension coiling in his gut. "Kraz," he addressed the Vargan pilot, "take us in, nice and slow. We can't afford to trip any proximity alarms." The alien nodded, his four-fingered hands dancing across the controls with practiced ease. The ship glided silently through the Imperial formation, exploiting gaps in their sensor coverage with surgical precision. Marcus Wong hunched over his console, fingers flying across holographic displays. "I'm reading an auxiliary maintenance hatch on the flagship's starboard side. It's our best shot for a covert entry." Sean nodded. "Take us in, Kraz." The Vargan stealth ship matched velocity with the massive Imperial vessel, inching closer until the maintenance hatch filled their view screen. With a soft thud, magnetic clamps engaged, securing them to the flagship's hull. "Nice work," Sean said, standing from his seat. He turned to address the strike team. "You all know the plan. Marcus, you're with Zinn. Head for engineering and gather what intel you can on their superweapon. Jack, Vexara, you're with me. We're making for the command center." The team nodded, their faces set with grit. As Marcus bypassed the hatch's security protocols, Sean felt a surge of pride. This ragtag group of humans and aliens, working in perfect sync, embodied everything their alliance stood for. With a hiss, the hatch slid open. Sean took point, leading the team into the sterile, metallic corridors of the Imperial flagship. The contrast between the warm, organic designs of their alien allies and the cold, utilitarian aesthetic of the Empire was stark. As they moved deeper into the ship, Sean's team encountered increasing security measures. Vexara's acute senses proved invaluable, allowing them to avoid patrols and slip past security checkpoints undetected. "Hold!" Vexara whispered, her elongated fingers splayed against a bulkhead. "Heavy security ahead. We must be nearing critical areas." Sean peered around the corner, his breath catching as he saw the heavily fortified security door leading to the command deck. Imperial guards stood at attention, their weapons primed and ready. "We need a distraction," Sean murmured, his mind racing. He turned to Jack and Vexara. "I need you two to create some chaos in a nearby section. Draw their attention away from this door." Jack grinned, hefting his weapon. "Chaos is my middle name." As Jack and Vexara moved off to carry out their mission, Sean steeled himself for what came next. He pulled out a datapad containing stolen Imperial codes and took a deep breath. It was time to put his knowledge of military protocols to the test. Meanwhile, Marcus and Zin had reached the engineering section. The cavernous space hummed with awe-inspiring energy, banks of computers and strange devices lining the walls. Marcus's eyes widened as he spotted a familiar-looking apparatus. "That must be the prototype for their superweapon," he whispered to Zin. "Cover me while I hack in." As Marcus worked, Zin's hands glowed with ethereal energy, manipulating the ambient fields to mask their presence from internal sensors. Back at the command deck entrance, Sean heard the distant sound of explosions. Jack and Vexara's diversion was underway. He stepped out from his hiding place, adopting the rigid posture of an Imperial officer. "Security breach in Section Gamma," he barked at the guards, flashing his stolen codes. "I need access to the command deck immediately." The guards hesitated for a moment, then stepped aside. Sean's heart pounded as he strode past them, praying his bluff would hold. Inside the command deck, Sean's ears pricked up as he overheard Admiral Krell's gravelly voice. The Cardassian was outlining the Empire's battle plans to a group of senior officers. "Once we've crushed their pathetic fleet," Krell was saying, "we'll use the superweapon to obliterate the Nixari homeworld. That should shatter their alliance before it becomes a real threat." Sean's blood ran cold. He had to act fast. In engineering, Marcus had successfully accessed the superweapon schematics. As he transmitted the data to the Alliance fleet, a silent alarm triggered. Imperial guards burst into the room, weapons raised. Zin reacted instantly, throwing up an energy barrier as Marcus scrambled for cover. The air crackled with weapons fire as the two allies fought for their lives. On the command deck, Sean took advantage of the chaos caused by Jack and Vexara's diversion. He slipped from console to console, sabotaging key systems and scrambling targeting arrays. Just as he disabled the main communications array, a familiar voice froze him in his tracks. "Well, well, what have we here?" Sean turned slowly to face Admiral Krell, the Cardassian's eyes burning with hatred. Without warning, Krell lunged forward, his fist connecting with Sean's jaw. The two adversaries grappled fiercely, crashing through displays and knocking over startled officers. Sean's human adaptability allowed him to match Krell's superior strength, but he knew he couldn't keep this up forever. As alarms blared throughout the ship, Sean caught sight of Imperial reinforcements flooding the command deck. He delivered a savage kick to Krell's midsection and sprinted for the exit, ducking energy blasts as he ran. Sean fought his way back to the rendezvous point, collecting Jack and Vexara en route. They arrived at the maintenance hatch to find Marcus and Zin pinned down by Imperial fire. "Go!" Sean shouted, providing covering fire as the others scrambled aboard the Vargan ship. He backed up the ramp, still firing, as Kraz prepped for emergency launch. With a violent lurch, the ship detached from the flagship. Kraz activated the cloaking device just as a barrage of weapons fire filled the space they'd occupied moments before. As they sped away from the Imperial fleet, Marcus turned to Sean, his face grim but determined. "I managed to plant Dr. Rodriguez's countermeasure in their engineering section, With any luck, it'll neutralize the superweapon when they try to use it. Sean nodded, his mind already racing ahead to the coming battle. They had the intel they needed, but at a cost. Admiral Krell would be out for blood now, and the full might of the Imperial fleet was about to bear down on their fledgling alliance. As the Vargan ship raced back toward their allies, Sean knew the real fight was just beginning. The destiny of the universe would be decided in the conflict to come, and he could only hope that the unity and diversity of their alliance would be enough to stand against the Empire's overwhelming force. Might against the Empire's overwhelming force. The Vargan ship streaked through space, its cloaking device straining under the extended use. Sean gripped the edge of his seat as Kraz executed a series of evasive maneuvers, narrowly avoiding debris from a recent skirmish. "We've got company," Kraz announced, his voice tense. "Imperial pursuit craft, closing fast." Sean leaned forward, scanning the tactical display. A squadron of sleek, predatory ships had broken formation from the main fleet, zeroing in on their position. "The cloak's flickering," Marcus reported, his fingers flying over the controls. "They're getting intermittent readings on us." Sean's mind raced. "Kraz, take us through that asteroid field. We'll use it for cover." The Vargan pilot nodded, adjusting their course. The ship dove into a dense cluster of tumbling rocks, weaving between massive boulders with breathtaking precision. Energy beams lanced past them, shattering asteroids into clouds of superheated debris. Sean felt the ship shudder as a glancing blow struck their aft shields. "Zin, can you do anything to reinforce the cloak?" Sean asked. The alien's hands glowed with ethereal energy. "I will try to harmonize my abilities with the ship's systems." As Zin worked his arcane science, Sean turned to Marcus. "What did you find in the Imperial database?" Marcus's eyes were glued to his datapad, scrolling through streams of information. The superweapon, it's powered by a rare isotope, only found in specific star systems. "That could be our edge," Sean mused. "If we can identify those systems, we might be able to cut off their supply." A violent jolt rocked the ship as an Imperial fighter strafed their position. Kraz banked hard, using a massive asteroid as cover. "We can't keep this up forever," Jack said, gripping his seat. "We need to lose them or fight back." As if in answer to Jack's declaration, a distress signal cut through the ship's communications array. Sean's eyes widened as he recognized the encryption. "It's a human resistance frequency," he said, heart racing, "coming from a nearby planet." The team exchanged glances, weighing the risks against their mission. Sean made a split-second decision. "Kraz, set a course for that signal. We're making a detour." The Vargan ship broke from the asteroid field, its engines flaring as it accelerated towards the nearby planet. The Imperial pursuit craft, caught off guard by the sudden change in direction, scrambled to regroup. As they approached the planet, Sean's stomach turned. The world before them was a hellscape of volcanic activity and toxic atmosphere. Angry red veins of lava crisscrossed the surface, punctuated by erupting geysers of superheated gas. "The signal's coming from that abandoned mining facility," Marcus reported, highlighting a structure nestled between two massive volcanoes. Sean nodded grimly. "All right, we'll need environmental suits. Jack, Vexara, you're with me. Marcus, Zin, stay with the ship and keep an eye on Imperial movements." As Sean's team prepared to descend to the planet's surface, the ship rocked with another impact. Kraz's voice came over the comms, tight with tension. "Imperial forces incoming. They've tracked us to the planet." Sean cursed under his breath. "We'll have to move fast. Get us as close to that facility as you can." The team donned their environmental suits and made their way to the airlock. As the outer doors hissed open, Sean was hit with a wave of intense heat, even through his protective gear. They rappelled down to the planet's surface, the ground beneath their feet rumbling ominously. Toxic fumes swirled around them, reducing visibility to mere meters. "This way," Sean called out, following the signal on his wrist computer. They picked their way across the treacherous landscape, narrowly avoiding gouts of superheated steam and rivers of molten rock. As they approached the mining facility, a figure emerged from the haze. Sean raised his weapon, then lowered it as he recognized the battered environmental suit of a fellow human. "Colonel Hadrian," the man introduced himself, his voice gruff, even through the suit's comm system. Damned good to see a friendly face in this hellhole. Sean quickly explained their situation as they made their way into the relative safety of the facility. Inside, they found a group of haggard resistance fighters, their faces etched with relief at the sight of potential rescue. We were on a covert op, Hadrian explained, leading them deeper into the complex. Uncovered intel on a secret Imperial project, some kind of genetic enhancement program for their soldiers. A violent tremor shook the facility, sending dust and debris raining down on them. Alarms began to blare throughout the complex. The planet's becoming unstable, Vexara said, her alien senses picking up on subtle changes in their environment. We need to leave. Now. Sean nodded. Colonel, gather your people and any data you've collected. We're getting out of here. As they began to move towards the exit, Jack's voice came over the comms, urgent and strained. Sean, we've got company. Imperial troops are landing outside the facility. Sean's mind raced, formulating a plan. Jack, use the facility's defense systems to hold them off. We'll make our way to you. He turned to Hadrian. Colonel, is there another way out of here? Hadrian nodded, gesturing down a dark corridor. There's an old emergency shaft that leads to the surface. It'll be a tight squeeze, but it should get us past the Imperial forces. Another tremor rocked the facility, more violent than before. The sound of distant explosions echoed through the corridors. Move! Sean shouted, urging the group forward. They raced through the maze-like complex, the air growing thicker with toxic fumes as the planet's instability increased. As they neared the surface, Sean's comm crackled to life. It was Marcus, his voice tight with urgency. Sean, you need to hurry. The planet's core is destabilizing. This whole world is about to tear itself apart. The group emerged onto the planet's surface, greeted by a scene of utter chaos. Imperial landing craft were being tossed about by violent winds, some crashing into the roiling landscape. Rivers of lava cut across their path to the Vargan ship, which hovered precariously amidst the maelstrom. Run! Sean bellowed, leading the charge across the disintegrating terrain. They leaped over fissures, dodged falling debris, and pushed through toxic clouds that threatened to overwhelm their suit filters. As they reached the ship, Sean did a quick head count. His heart sank as he realized they were one short. Where's Jack? He demanded, scanning the hellish landscape. Here, came a strained voice. Jack appeared through the haze, half carrying an injured resistance fighter. Sean and Vexara rushed to help, dragging them aboard just as another violent quake threatened to split the ground beneath their feet. Go, go, go! Sean shouted to Kraz as the airlock sealed shut. The Vargan ship lifted off, straining under the additional weight in the planet's turbulent atmosphere. Through the viewports, they watched in awe and horror as the world literally tore itself apart, taking the remaining Imperial forces with it. As they broke atmosphere, Sean allowed himself a moment of relief. But it was short-lived. The ship's sensors lit up with multiple contacts. Imperial fleet detected, Kraz announced grimly. They're moving to intercept. Sean's mind focused. They had the intel, they had new allies. But the real battle was just beginning. As the ship accelerated towards the rendezvous point with the Alliance fleet, he began formulating plans for the conflict to come. The future of the stars hung in the balance, and Sean Murray found himself at the center of it all. The disparate forces of the Alliance would soon face the might of the Galactic Empire in a battle that would shape the future of countless worlds. The Defiant surged through the chaos of battle, its advanced cloaking technology rendering it nearly invisible amidst the firestorm of energy weapons and exploding ships. Sean Murray's hands gripped the controls tightly, his eyes darting between the view screen and the tactical display. Multiple contacts closing fast, Marcus Wong called out from his station, fingers flying over the sensor controls. Imperial fighters, new configuration. They're tracking us somehow. Sean's eyes hardened as he processed this new threat. The Empire had clearly been busy developing countermeasures to Alliance technology. He banked the ship hard, narrowly avoiding a barrage of laser fire that seemed to anticipate their position. Phantom hunters, Jack Chen muttered, his hands poised over the weapons console. Sean, these bastards can see right through our cloak. Then we'll have to be better. Sean replied, his voice steady despite the surge of adrenaline coursing through him. Jack, prepare for precision strikes. We can't risk giving away our position with big explosions. The Defiant wove through the debris field of destroyed ships, both Imperial and Alliance. Sean's piloting skills were pushed to their limits as he navigated the treacherous maze while evading the pursuit of the Phantom Hunters. Jack's fingers danced across his console, firing pinpoint shots that disabled the pursuing fighters without causing catastrophic detonations. One by one, the Phantom Hunters fell silent, left to drift helplessly in space. As they approached Admiral Krell's flagship, the massive vessel loomed before them, its hull filled with weapon emplacements. Sean could feel the weight of history pressing down on him. This was the moment that would decide the fate of countless worlds. Suddenly, Marcus's voice cut through the tension. Energy spike detected. They're powering up the superweapon. Sean's mind raced, calculating trajectories and possibilities in a fraction of a second. New plan, he announced, his voice tight with concentration. We're going for the main weapon port. It's our only shot at stopping that thing before it fires. He pushed the Defiant into a steep dive, aiming directly for the gaping maw of the flagship's primary weapon. The ship's structural integrity alarms blared as Sean pushed it beyond its design limits, weaving through a storm of defensive fire. Jack, arm the EMP torpedoes, Sean ordered. We'll only get one shot at this. The weapons officer nodded grimly, loading the specialized ordnance developed by Dr. Rodriguez. The torpedoes were their ace in the hole, designed to overload and disable the Empire's most powerful systems. As they closed in on their target, the flagship's defenses intensified. Energy beams and projectiles filled space around them, each near miss sending shudders through the Defiant's hull. Sean, Marcus called out, his voice strained. There's a gap in their defense screen, but it's closing fast. We've got seconds at most. Without hesitation, Sean aimed for the narrow opening, pushing the ship's engines to their absolute limit. The Defiant screamed through space, alarms wailing as it approached structural failure. Now, Jack! Sean yelled as they cleared the defense screen. Jack fired, and brilliant blue-white torpedoes streaked from the Defiant's launch tubes. They struck home just as the superweapon began to glow with ominous energy. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing happened. Then a cascade of explosions rippled across the flagship's hull. The superweapon's glow flickered and died as systems throughout the massive ship failed. Direct hit, Marcus whooped. The superweapon is offline and the flagship's power grid is collapsing. A cheer went up from the Defiant's crew, but Sean knew their mission was nowhere near the end. He quickly transmitted targeting data to the Alliance fleet, highlighting the vulnerabilities created by their successful strike. As Alliance ships pressed their newfound advantage, Sean's comm crackled to life. Colonel Hadrian's gruff voice came through, tight with urgency. Murray, we've got a situation. That data we recovered from the mining facility, it's led us to the Empire's secret research base. They're developing some kind of enhanced soldiers there. If we strike now, we could cripple their entire program. Sean's mind raced, weighing the options before him. They could press their advantage against Krell's weakened flagship, potentially capturing or eliminating the Imperial leader. Or they could pivot to this new target, striking a blow against the Empire's future plans. Before he could respond, proximity alarms blared. A squad of Imperial ships, apparently immune to the EMP effects, was closing in fast. Sean, we need to move, Jack called out, his hands already moving to target the new threats. With the immediacy of the danger forcing his hand, Sean made his decision. He opened a channel to both Colonel Hadrian and the Alliance Command. We're going after that research base, he announced, already plotting a course away from the main battle. The fleet can handle Krell. We need to cut off the Empire's next move before it's too late. As the Defiant accelerated away from the chaos of the main battle, Sean could only hope he'd made the right choice. The Empire's forces were regrouping, and Admiral Krell was not a foe to be underestimated. But the promise of crippling the Imperial war machine's future was too great to ignore. The Defiant streaked through space, leaving the epic battle behind and racing towards an uncertain confrontation. Sean knew that whatever they found at the secret research base would change the course of the war. He only hoped they weren't already too late. Late, the Defiant surged forward, leaving the chaos of the main battle behind as they raced towards the secret research base. But as they accelerated away, Sean's mind churned with the weight of his decision. The opportunity to cripple both the Empire's current and future capabilities was too crucial to ignore. With a sharp intake of breath, he made a bold choice. "Change of plans," Sean announced, his voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. "We're splitting our forces. Jack, I need you to lead a strike team to that research base. Take Vexara and 2 of the Nixari energy manipulators. The rest of us will return to finish what we started with Krell's flagship." Jack's eyes widened, but he nodded firmly. "Understood, Captain. We won't let you down." As Jack's team prepared for their mission, Sean deftly maneuvered the Defiant back towards the heart of the battle. The Imperial flagship loomed before them, its once imposing silhouette now marred by the damage from their earlier assault. "Marcus, what's the status of their systems?" Sean asked, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. Marcus's fingers flew over his console. "Their power grid is still unstable, but they're adapting. Shield generators are operating at reduced capacity. Wait, I'm detecting a vulnerability in their port-side generator array." Sean's lips curved into a grim smile. "Then that's our target. All hands, prepare for close-quarters engagement." The Defiant dove towards the Imperial flagship, weaving through a hail of defensive fire. Sean's hands danced across the controls, pushing the ship to its limits as he exploited every gap in the enemy's defenses. "Jack, your team is clear for launch," Sean called out. "Good hunting, and watch your backs out there." As Jack's strike craft detached from the Defiant and streaked away, Sean refocused on the task at hand. He guided the ship into a series of tight maneuvers, drawing enemy fire away from their true objective. "Now, Marcus!" Sean shouted as they cleared the last line of defense. Marcus unleashed a barrage of energy weapons and physical projectiles, targeting the weak point in the flagship's shields with surgical precision. The localized shielding buckled under the assault, creating a breach in the massive vessel's hull. "Direct hit," Marcus called out, his voice tight with excitement. "We've opened a gap in their defenses." Sean wasted no time capitalizing on their advantage. He opened a channel to the nearby Alliance ships. "All units, concentrate fire on the breach coordinates we're transmitting. Let's finish this." The Alliance forces responded with a coordinated assault that would have been impossible just months ago. Ships of various designs and capabilities, once divided by mistrust and oppression, now fought as one. Their combined firepower poured into the opening created by the Defiant, causing cascading damage throughout the Imperial vessel. Aboard the Imperial flagship, alarms blared as systems failed in rapid succession. Admiral Krell, his face contorted with rage and disbelief, barked orders at his increasingly panicked crew. "Reroute all available power to weapons. We will not be defeated by this rabble." Krell's voice carried the edge of desperation as he watched his once-invincible ship crumble around him. But it was too late. The damage was too extensive. The Alliance's assault too coordinated. Krell's second-in-command approached, his face ashen. "Admiral, we must evacuate. The ship cannot withstand much more of this." Krell's teeth clenched, but he nodded curtly. "Prepare my personal transport. We will regroup and crush these insects once and for all." As the Imperial command staff rushed to abandon ship, Sean detected increased activity around the flagship's hangars. "They're trying to flee," he muttered, then opened a channel to the Alliance forces. "All ships, be advised. Imperial command is attempting to evacuate. Intercept and disable their escape craft if possible, but our primary objective remains the destruction of that flagship." The battle reached a fever pitch as Alliance ships moved to cut off the Imperial escape routes while maintaining their assault on the crippled flagship. Sean pushed the Defiant through the chaos, his eyes scanning for any sign of Krell's transport. Suddenly, Marcus's voice cut through the din of battle. "Sean, I've got a lock on a high-priority target. It's moving fast, using the debris field for cover." Sean's hands tightened on the controls. "That's got to be Krell. Send me the tracking data. We're going after him." The Defiant broke away from the main engagement, accelerating in pursuit of the fleeing Imperial transport. Sean's piloting skills were pushed to their limits as he navigated through the treacherous field of destroyed ships and drifting wreckage. As they closed the distance, the Imperial transport's engines flared to life, pushing the smaller craft to dangerous speeds. Sean gritted his teeth, matching their desperate maneuvers as they wove through the debris. "He's not getting away," Sean muttered, his focus absolute as he guided the Defiant through a series of tight turns and sudden drops. Just as they were about to overtake Krell's ship, a blinding flash of energy erupted in front of them. Sean's eyes widened as he realized what he was seeing. "A wormhole!" Marcus exclaimed. "They've activated some kind of portable wormhole generator." Sean had a split second to make a decision. If Krell escaped, he could regroup with Imperial forces and potentially turn the tide of the war. But pursuing him through an unstable wormhole was a massive risk. Without hesitation, Sean pushed the Defiant's engines to their limit. "Hold on, everyone!" he shouted as they plunged into the swirling vortex of energy, moments before it collapsed behind them. The Defiant shuddered violently as it was hurled through space-time, its crew held in place only by their harnesses and the ship's inertial dampeners. Sean fought to maintain control, his muscles straining against the impossible forces threatening to tear the ship apart. As suddenly as it began, the turbulence ceased. The Defiant emerged into unknown space, its sensors scrambled and its crew disoriented. Sean blinked away the spots in his vision, his hands automatically running through emergency stabilization procedures. "Status report," he called out, his voice hoarse. Marcus groaned as he pulled himself upright in his chair. "Sensors are coming back online. No sign of Krell's ship, but... Sean, you need to see this." As the main view screen flickered to life, Sean's breath caught in his throat. Before them stretched a vast alien starscape, unlike anything they had ever encountered. Strange, swirling nebulae painted the void in colors they had no names for, while unfamiliar constellations glittered in the distance. "Where are we?" Sean whispered, the weight of their situation settling over him like a physical force. Marcus shook his head, his fingers flying over his console. "I can't match any of these star patterns to our database. We're completely off the map." Sean took a deep breath, steadying himself. They were lost in unknown space, cut off from their allies, with no idea where Admiral Krell had fled. But they were alive, and where there was life, there was hope. "All right," Sean said, his voice gaining strength. "Let's find out where we are and how to get back. And if we're lucky, we might just catch up to our old friend Krell along the way." As the Defiant's engines hummed to life, Sean couldn't help but wonder what Jack and his team were facing back at the secret Imperial research base. He could only hope that splitting their forces had been the right call, and that both teams would find a way to complete their missions and reunite. With a determined set to his jaw, Sean guided the Defiant deeper into the unknown, ready to face whatever challenges this strange new region of space might hold. As the Defiant vanished into the swirling vortex of the wormhole, the remaining Alliance forces in the Nixari system stared in disbelief. The sudden disappearance of both Sean Murray and Admiral Krell left a palpable void in the aftermath of their hard-fought victory. Colonel Hadrian's gruff voice crackled over the comms, breaking the stunned silence. "All ships, report status and begin sweep operations. We need to secure this system before Imperial reinforcements arrive." The diverse fleet of Alliance vessels sprang into action, their crews shaking off the shock of recent events. Zarkon ships, sleek and nimble, darted through the debris field, their advanced scanners probing for any signs of life or hidden Imperial technology. Aboard the Alliance command ship, Colonel Hadrian stood before a holographic display of the battlefield, his weathered face illuminated by the flickering blue light. "Status report," he demanded, his eyes never leaving the tactical readout. A young officer, her uniform bearing the patches of both human and Nixari insignia, stepped forward. "Sir, Zarkon scanners have detected multiple escape pods in Sector Gamma 9. The Nixari energy manipulators are moving to disable their self-destruct mechanisms now." Hadrian nodded, his mind already racing ahead to the next steps. "Good. Once those pods are secure, I want every scrap of intel we can get from the occupants and their systems. We need to know what Krell's next move would have been." As the Alliance forces solidified their control over the Nixari system, an urgent transmission cut through the chatter of post-battle operations. Jack Chen's face appeared on the main view screen, his expression a mix of triumph and concern. Colonel Hadrian, mission accomplished, Jack reported, his voice tight with fatigue. We've destroyed the Imperial research base and recovered critical data on their genetic soldier program. But sir, what we found there, it's worse than we imagined. Hadrian's eyes narrowed. Give me the short version, Chen. How bad are we talking? Jack's image flickered as he transmitted a series of encrypted files. The Empire wasn't just enhancing their soldiers, sir. They were creating something entirely new. Hybridized humans with abilities we've never seen before. If they'd succeeded, they'd have an army that could potentially overwhelm even our combined forces. Hadrian finished, his voice grim. Well done, Chen. Get your team back here on the double. We'll need to analyze every byte of data you've recovered. As Jack's team made their way back to the main fleet, Marcus Wong approached Colonel Hadrian, his usually calm demeanor visibly shaken. Sir, I've been analyzing the data from the wormhole that took Sean and Krell. There's something you need to see. Hadrian followed Marcus to a bank of monitors, each displaying a dizzying array of calculations and energy readings. Marcus pointed to a particular set of fluctuations. These patterns suggest the wormhole wasn't random. It had a predetermined destination. You're saying Krell knew where he was going? Hadrian asked, his brow furrowed. Marcus nodded. It's the only explanation that fits the data. We're working on narrowing down potential exit points, focusing on systems with known Imperial strongholds or research facilities. Before Hadrian could respond, alarms blared throughout the command center. The tactical officer's voice rang out, tense but controlled. Multiple contacts detected at the system's edge. Imperial signatures confirmed. It's a reinforcement fleet, sir? Hadrian's posture stiffened, years of combat experience kicking in as he assessed the situation. How many ships? At least 3 dozen, sir. No sign of Krell's superweapon, but they outgun us significantly. Hadrian's mind raced, weighing options and potential strategies. He turned to address the assembled officers, his voice steady and determined. All right, people. This is where we prove that our alliance is more than just pretty words. I want Zarkon's ships on point. Use your maneuverability to disrupt their formation. Nixari, deploy your energy manipulators to key defensive positions. Create a web of force fields to protect our flanks. As officers rushed to relay orders, Hadrian continued, Vargan cloaking teams, I want you shadowing our strike forces. Give them the element of surprise when they hit the Imperial command ships. Jack Chen's voice cut in over the comms. Colonel, my team is approaching the system now. What do you need us to do? Hadrian's lips curved into a grim smile. Chen, I'm giving you command of our fighter squadrons. Mix it up. I want human, Zarkon, and Nixari pilots working together. Hit their command and control systems hard. Let's show them what this alliance can do. As the Imperial fleet entered weapons range, the Alliance forces sprang into action. Zarkon's ships danced through space, their impossible maneuvers confounding Imperial targeting systems. Nixari energy fields flared to life, absorbing the initial salvos of Imperial fire. Jack Chen's voice crackled over the comms as his mixed squadron of fighters launched from their carriers. All wings, report in. Remember, we're stronger together than we ever were apart. Let's show these Imperials what they're up against. The battle erupted in full force, a chaos of energy beams, missile trails, and explosions. Imperial ships, caught off guard by the unorthodox tactics of the Alliance, struggled to maintain cohesion. Vargan-cloaked strike teams materialized within the Imperial formation, unleashing devastating attacks before vanishing once more. As the fighting intensified, long-range sensors detected new contacts approaching from multiple vectors. The command center erupted in a flurry of activity as officers scrambled to identify the newcomers. Sir, the sensor officer called out, her voice a mix of confusion and hope. We're picking up signatures from at least 5 different alien races. None of them match known Imperial profiles. Colonel Hadrian's eyes widened as he realized the implications. The news of their victory against Krell had spread faster than he'd anticipated, drawing the attention of previously neutral races. This moment, he knew, could change the course of the war. Open diplomatic channels, Hadrian ordered, his mind already grappling with the complexities of the situation. Let's hope they're here as potential allies and not vultures looking to pick over the remains of the Empire. As the battle raged on and diplomats scrambled to make contact with the approaching alien fleets, Hadrian couldn't help but wonder about the fate of Sean Murray in the Defiant. Somewhere out there, in the vast unknown of space, the next chapter of this war was unfolding. For now, all they could do was fight, survive, and hope that their lost comrades would find their way back home. As the battle in the Nixari system raged on, Colonel Hadrian's attention was split between the immediate conflict and the pressing need to locate Sean Murray and Admiral Krell. The command center buzzed with activity as officers coordinated the fleet's movements and diplomats worked to establish contact with the newly arrived alien races. Amidst the chaos, Marcus Wong approached Hadrian, his eyes alight with excitement. "Colonel, I've got something," he said, gesturing to his datapad. "We've identified a potential exit point for the wormhole that took Sean and Krell." Hadrian's eyebrows raised. "Where?" "The Tartarus Nebula," Marcus replied. "Specifically an Imperial research station hidden deep within its borders. It's a treacherous region, sir, known for its dangerous stellar phenomena and nearly impossible navigation conditions." Hadrian absorbed the information, his mind quickly formulating a plan. "We can't leave Sean out there, and we can't risk Krell rejoining Imperial forces," he muttered. Looking up, he locked eyes with Marcus. "Assemble a rescue team. I want Jack Chen to lead it." Within hours, Jack stood before a diverse group of specialists in the hangar bay of the Alliance command ship. Vex Ara, the Zarkon scout, stood tall and alert, her iridescent scales shimmering under the harsh lights. Beside her, Zina, the Nixari energy manipulator, radiated an aura of calm focus. A new face completed the team. Grak, a burly Vargan male whose very presence seemed to bend the light around him. "Our mission is clear," Jack began, his voice carrying across the hangar. "We find Sean, neutralize Krell if possible, and get out. We'll be using the Shadow Striker, a modified ship equipped with both Vargan cloaking tech and Nixari energy dampeners." As the team boarded the sleek, dark vessel, Jack couldn't help but feel a mix of anticipation and dread. The Tartarus Nebula was not a place to be taken lightly. The journey to the nebula pushed the Shadow Striker and its crew to their limits. Gravitational anomalies threatened to tear the ship apart, while pockets of corrosive gas tested the hull's integrity. Vexara's enhanced senses proved invaluable, allowing her to detect subtle shifts in the nebula's structure and guide them through the chaos. As they approached the Imperial Research Station, Grak's expertise came to the forefront. The Vargan worked tirelessly at his console, fingers dancing across holographic interfaces. "I've found a way to modulate our cloaking field," he growled, his voice low and gravelly. "We'll mimic the energy signature of the nebula's phenomena. Should get us past their outer defenses." True to Grak's word, the Shadow Striker slipped past the station's perimeter undetected. As they drew closer, signs of recent conflict became apparent. The station's hull bore scorch marks and impact craters, evidence of a fierce battle. "Looks like Sean and Krell brought their fight here," Jack observed, his eyes scanning the damage. "Vexara, what can you sense?" The Zarkon closed her eyes, focusing her heightened senses. "Multiple life signs within, but fewer than I'd expect for a station this size. Many areas are depressurized. I detect residual energy signatures consistent with both Alliance and Imperial weapons fire." Jack nodded grimly. "All right, team, we go in quiet. Zin, be ready to disrupt any systems or weapons we encounter. Grak, you're on point for bypassing security measures. Vexara, keep those senses sharp. Let's move." The team entered the station through a damaged airlock, the artificial gravity fluctuating as they made their way deeper into the facility. They encountered pockets of resistance, small groups of Imperial troops, disorganized and clearly caught off guard by the Alliance team's sudden appearance. In one narrow corridor, a squad of Imperial soldiers opened fire. Zin reacted instantly, her hands weaving intricate patterns in the air. The energy bolts from the Imperial weapons slowed and dissipated mere inches from the Alliance team. Jack and Grak used the opening to quickly neutralize the threat, their movements efficient and practiced. As they pushed deeper into the station, they came across a heavily fortified section. Grak examined the reinforced doors, his expert eyes picking out subtle details in the security systems. "This was done recently," he muttered. "Rush job, but effective. Give me a few minutes." While Grak worked, Jack and Vexara scouted the surrounding area. They discovered the remains of several Imperial soldiers, their armor bearing the insignia of elite guards. "Looks like Sean and his team put up one hell of a fight," Jack remarked. A soft chime from Grak's direction signaled success. The reinforced doors slid open, revealing a makeshift command center. Holographic displays flickered with static, and several consoles showed signs of hasty data purges. "Jack, over here!" Zin called out, gesturing to a still-active terminal. "I'm detecting traces of a coded transmission. It was sent recently, within the last few hours." Jack's face hardened. Krell. He must have managed to get a message out to Imperial High Command before fleeing. Their search of the command center complete, the team pressed on. The station's layout became more familiar. They were entering a detention block. Jack's pulse quickened as they approached a sealed cell at the far end of the corridor. Grak made short work of the lock, and as the door slid open, Jack's breath caught in his throat. There, battered and bruised but unmistakably alive, was Sean Murray. "Took you long enough," Sean quipped, a pained smile crossing his face as Jack helped him to his feet. As Zin began treating Sean's injuries, Jack quickly briefed him on the situation back in the Nixari system. In turn, Sean shared what he had learned during his captivity. "Krell's up to something big," Sean said, his voice low and urgent. He kept muttering about something called the Phoenix Protocol. Whatever it is, it's got him spooked. He seemed more afraid of failing to implement it than he was of us. Before Jack could press for more details, alarms blared throughout the station. Vexara's head snapped up, her eyes wide. "Multiple Imperial ships entering the system," she reported. "They'll be within weapons range in minutes." Jack's mind raced, weighing their options. They were out of time, and their exfiltration just became significantly more complicated. He turned to his team, each member tensed and ready for action. "Looks like our exit just got a lot hotter," he said, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "But we didn't come this far to fail now. Zin, you mentioned something about using the station's power core earlier. I think it's time we put that plan into action." As Zin began outlining her idea to create a massive electromagnetic pulse, Jack caught Sean's eye. A silent understanding passed between them. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. The race to escape the Imperial forces and unravel the mystery of the Phoenix Protocol had only just begun. As the team raced through the corridors of the research station, alarms blaring around them, Jack's mind whirled with possibilities. "Zin, what's your plan for the power core?" he asked, ducking under a shower of sparks from a damaged conduit. The Nixari's eyes glowed with an inner light as she explained. "We can overload the station's power core to create a massive electromagnetic pulse. It should disable the Imperial ships long enough for us to escape." Sean, leaning heavily on Vexara for support, nodded grimly. "Do it. We can't let Krell's message reach Imperial High Command." With Grak leading the way, bypassing security systems with practiced ease, the team made their way to the station's engineering section. Imperial troops, disorganized and caught off guard, offered little resistance. As Zin worked to reconfigure the power core, Jack and the others held off waves of Imperial reinforcements. The air crackled with energy as Zin's manipulations reached their peak. "It's done," she called out. "We have 2 minutes before the pulse detonates. We need to be clear of the blast radius." The team sprinted back to the Shadow Striker, Vexara's enhanced senses guiding them through the chaos. As they strapped in, Jack's hands flew over the controls, bringing the ship's systems online. "Hang on!" he shouted as the Shadow Striker burst from the station's docking bay. Behind them, the research station pulsed with an eerie light before erupting in a blinding flash. The electromagnetic wave washed over them, causing the ship's systems to flicker and sputter. Jack gritted his teeth, fighting to maintain control as they plunged into the swirling gases of the Tartarus Nebula. "Grak, I need your help," Jack called out. "The EMP's done a number on our systems. We need to keep her flying until we clear the nebula." The Vargan moved to Jack's side, his expert fingers dancing across the control panels. Together, they coaxed the damaged ship through the treacherous stellar phenomena, relying on Vexara's heightened senses to navigate the invisible currents and eddies of the nebula. Hours passed in tense silence, broken only by the occasional groan of the ship's stressed hull or the quiet murmur of Xin tending to Xion's injuries. Finally, the swirling clouds of the nebula began to thin, revealing the star-studded expanse of normal space. Jack allowed himself a small sigh of relief. We're not out of the woods yet, but at least we can see the sky. Vexara, any sign of pursuit? The Zarkon scout closed her eyes, focusing her senses. Nothing I can detect, but our sensors are unreliable. We should assume the Empire will be looking for us. As they limped towards Alliance space, Jack divided his attention between keeping the ship functional and debriefing Sean on the events since his disappearance. Sean listened intently, his face growing grave as he absorbed the news of the ongoing battle in the Nixari system and the arrival of potential new allies. We need to get this information back to Colonel Hadrian as soon as possible, Sean said, wincing as he shifted in his seat. The Phoenix Protocol, it's bigger than we imagined. The Empire's planning something that could undo everything we've accomplished. Jack nodded, his expression serious. We'll get you there, Sean. Just hold on a little longer. As they approached the outer markers of Alliance territory, a small fleet of ships appeared on their long-range scanners. Jack tensed, ready to take evasive action, but Vexara's hand on his shoulder stopped him. Alliance signatures, she said, her voice filled with relief. They must have been waiting for us. Within moments, the Shadow Striker was surrounded by a protective escort of Alliance vessels. As they made their final approach to the Alliance command ship, Jack could see the signs of recent battle, scorch marks on hulls, makeshift repairs, and the unmistakable weariness of a force that had been pushed to its limits. As soon as they docked, medical teams swarmed the Shadow Striker, whisking Sean away for urgent treatment. Jack watched his friend go, a mixture of relief and worry etched on his face. Colonel Hadrian met them in the hangar, his eyes betraying a hint of the strain he'd been under. Well done, all of you, he said, his voice gruff but sincere. Get some rest. We'll debrief in 6 hours. As the team dispersed, Jack found himself pulled aside by Marcus Wong. The intelligence officer's eyes were alight with a mixture of excitement and concern. Jack, we need to talk, Marcus said in a low voice. While you were gone, we've uncovered some disturbing information. I think we may have a serious problem on our hands. Jack's exhaustion vanished, replaced by a sharp focus. What kind of problem? Marcus glanced around, ensuring they weren't overheard. The kind that could tear the Alliance apart from the inside. Meet me in secure briefing room 3 in an hour. Bring only those you absolutely trust. As Marcus hurried away, Jack felt a familiar tension building in his chest. He had a feeling that his mission was a long way to go. In fact, it might have only just begun. As Jack made his way to secure briefing room 3, his mind raced with possibilities. What could Marcus have uncovered that was so urgent? He arrived to find Marcus already there, pacing nervously. The intelligence officer's face was drawn with concern as he laid out a series of data pads on the table. Jack, we've got a serious problem, Marcus began without preamble. We believe there's an Imperial mole high up in the Alliance leadership. Jack's eyes widened. Are you sure? Marcus nodded grimly. The evidence is circumstantial but compelling. We've detected patterns of information leaks that can only be coming from someone with high-level access. Before they could delve deeper, the door slid open and Colonel Hadrian strode in, his face set in grim lines. Gentlemen, we need to act fast. Sean's debriefing has revealed the true scope of the Phoenix Protocol. It's worse than we imagined. Over the next hour, Hadrian outlined a series of decisive actions to counter the Imperial threat. Jack's team would intensify their efforts to root out the suspected mole, implementing a complex series of information traps and false intelligence reports. As the meeting concluded, Hadrian turned to Jack. I'm authorizing you to assemble a small, trusted team for this operation. Be discreet but thorough. We can't afford any mistakes. Jack nodded, his mind already formulating a plan. He'd need Zin's expertise in data analysis, Grak's understanding of security systems, and Vexara's intuition. Over the next few days, Jack's team worked tirelessly, sifting through mountains of data and setting up elaborate traps. They narrowed their suspects down to 3 high-ranking officials, each with access to sensitive information. Meanwhile, Marcus made a breakthrough in decrypting the Helios superweapon data. Jack found him in the lab, surrounded by holographic displays of star systems. The weapon's key component is a rare isotope, Marcus explained, his eyes alight with excitement. It's only found in specific types of dying stars. We can narrow our search to systems matching these criteria. As Marcus coordinated with Alliance scouts to begin the search, Jack received word that Sean had taken charge of planning offensive operations against Imperial shipyards and weapons caches. Despite his injuries, Sean worked tirelessly with Alliance tacticians, developing a series of lightning strikes designed to cripple the Empire's ability to rebuild its forces. Jack visited Sean in the medical bay, finding him surrounded by tactical displays and reports. "You should be resting," Jack admonished, but there was no real heat in his words. Sean grinned, though the expression was tinged with pain. "No time for that. We need to hit them hard and fast, Jack. Small, elite teams, in and out before they know what hit them." As they discussed the details of Sean's plan, alarms blared throughout the station. Jack rushed to the command center to find Colonel Hadrian staring at a holographic display of a massive Imperial fleet. "Grand Admiral Thorne," Hadrian said, his voice tight. "He's launched a major offensive into Alliance territory." Jack watched as the Imperial forces pushed forward, targeting key resource-rich systems. "They're trying to cut off our supply lines," he realized. Hadrian nodded grimly. "And fracture our united front. We need to hold the line, Jack. I'm putting you in command of a mixed squadron of fighters. Use everything you've learned about their tactics." As Jack prepared to head to the hangar, he received an urgent message from his counterintelligence team. They had identified the Imperial mole, Counselor Drav, a diplomat from a recently liberated world. Jack's team moved swiftly, apprehending Drav just as he was about to transmit a crucial data packet to his Imperial handlers. The revelation sent shockwaves through the Alliance, threatening to fracture the fragile coalition. In the midst of this chaos, Jack found himself coordinating multiple fronts. His fighter squadron engaged in fierce dogfights with Imperial forces, using unconventional tactics to disrupt their formations. Meanwhile, Sean's strike teams had deployed across enemy territory, targeting hidden Imperial facilities while their main fleet was committed to the offensive. As Jack's fighter weaved through a hail of enemy fire, he received a transmission from Dr. Elena Rodriguez, leader of the research team investigating the ancient space station discovered by Vexara's scouting party. "Jack, we've triggered something." Elena's voice crackled with static and urgency. "The station's coming alive around us. We're trapped, and some kind of startup sequence has begun. We need backup." Jack gritted his teeth, realizing the magnitude of the challenge before them. The Alliance was now fighting on multiple fronts, against Grand Admiral Thorne's relentless assault, within its own ranks to restore trust, deep in enemy territory with Sean's strike teams, and now on a mysterious ancient station with unknown powers. As he banked his fighter to avoid an incoming missile, Jack knew that the next few hours would determine not just the fate of the Alliance, but potentially the future of the entire galaxy. The real test of their strength and unity was just beginning. Beginning. As Jack processed Marcus's warning, alarms blared throughout the station. He sprinted to the command center, where Colonel Hadrian stood grimly before a holographic display. "Grand Admiral Thorne," Hadrian said, his voice tight. "He's launched a major offensive into Alliance territory." The display showed a massive Imperial fleet pushing forward, targeting key resource-rich systems. Jack's eyes narrowed as he analyzed the enemy's movements. "They're trying to cut off our supply lines," he realized aloud. Hadrian nodded. "And fracture our united front. We need to hold the line, Jack. I'm putting you in command of a mixed squadron of fighters. Use everything you've learned about their tactics." As Jack turned to leave, Hadrian's communicator chirped. The colonel's face darkened as he listened to the message. "We've identified the Imperial mole, Counselor Drav. Apprehend him immediately." Jack's team moved swiftly, capturing Drav just as he attempted to transmit crucial data to his Imperial handlers. The revelation sent shockwaves through the Alliance, threatening to fracture the fragile coalition. With no time to dwell on the implications, Jack raced to the hangar. He climbed into his fighter, the pre-flight checklist running through his mind automatically. As his squadron launched, Jack opened a channel to his pilots. "Listen up," he said, his voice steady despite the chaos around them. "We're facing superior numbers, but we have diversity on our side. Zarkon, use your enhanced sensors to identify weak points. Vargan pilots, your maneuverability will be key. Everyone else, stay alert and watch each other's backs." The space around them erupted into a frenzied dogfight. Jack's fighter wove through a hail of enemy fire, his hands dancing across the controls. He spotted an opening in the Imperial formation and seized it, leading his squadron through the gap. "Now!" Jack shouted. His pilots unleashed a barrage of fire, catching the Imperial ships in a devastating crossfire. As the battle raged, Jack received an urgent transmission from Sean Murray. His old friend's voice crackled with static and the sounds of distant explosions. "Jack, we're in," Sean reported. "We've infiltrated the hidden Imperial shipyard using Vargan cloaking tech. You won't believe what we found here." Sean's voice cut out abruptly as another wave of Imperial fighters descended on Jack's squadron. He gritted his teeth, pulling his ship into a tight roll to avoid a barrage of laser fire. "Sean, repeat your last," Jack called, but only static answered him. In the Imperial shipyard, Sean Murray led his strike team through cavernous construction bays. Massive prototype warships loomed above them, their sleek hulls incorporating technology from the Empire's failed superweapon project. "Plant the charges here, here, and here," Sean whispered, indicating key structural points. "Zara, hack their systems. Disable any failsafes." As his team worked, the sound of booted feet echoed through the facility. Sean raised his hand, signaling for silence. A squad of Imperial troops rounded the corner, their weapons raised. "Contact!" Sean shouted, diving for cover as energy bolts sizzled past him. The strike team reacted instantly. Vargan shadow jumpers materialized behind the Imperial soldiers, while Nyx Ari energy manipulators deflected incoming fire. Sean rolled to his feet, his rifle spitting plasma bolts with deadly accuracy. In the command center, Colonel Hadrian coordinated the Alliance's response to the Imperial offensive. Tactical displays showed the ebb and flow of battle across multiple systems. A junior officer approached, her face pale. "Sir, we've lost contact with Dr. Rodriguez's team on the ancient space station," she reported. Their last transmission indicated some kind of activation sequence had begun. Hadrian's brow furrowed. He opened a channel to Jack's fighter. "Chen, we have a situation. The research team on the alien station is in trouble. Can you break away?" Jack's voice came back, strained with exertion. "Negative, sir. We're fully engaged here. Wait." His voice cut off, replaced by the sound of alarms. "Imperial capital ships are moving into position. They're targeting our command vessels." On the bridge of his flagship, Grand Admiral Thorne allowed himself a small smile. "Concentrate all fire on their command ships," he ordered. "Without centralized control, their ragtag fleet will crumble." As the Imperial assault intensified, Colonel Hadrian made a decision. He turned to his second-in-command. "Activate Project Thunderbolt." Eyebrows raised around the command center. Project Thunderbolt was a closely guarded secret, a weapons system that combined Nyxari energy manipulation with Zarkon propulsion technology. In a hidden hangar bay, a massive energy projector hummed to life. Its Zarkon-designed engines ignited, propelling the weapon into the heart of the battle. Jack's eyes widened as he saw the new Alliance weapon enter the fray. Its energy beams lanced out, cutting through Imperial shields like paper. Ships twice its size listed and went dark, disabled by its awesome power. Grand Admiral Thorne's confident expression faltered as reports of the new weapon flooded in. "Pull back to defensive positions," he ordered. "Recalculate our approach." As the tide of battle shifted, Sean Murray and his team fought their way back to their extraction point. The charges they'd planted began to detonate, chain reactions tearing through the Imperial shipyard. Sean's voice crackled over the comm as his team's ship blasted free of the doomed facility. "Jack, Hadrian, anyone. Mission accomplished. The shipyard is gone. We're heading home." On the ancient space station, Dr. Elena Rodriguez worked frantically at an alien console. The station hummed and pulsed around her, systems activating that had lain dormant for millennia. "Come on," she muttered, her fingers flying over unfamiliar symbols. "Give me something I can work with." Suddenly, the console before her blazed with light. Data streamed across holographic displays, revealing the station's true nature, an automated factory capable of producing highly advanced defensive technologies. Elena's eyes widened as she grasped the implications. She opened a channel to Alliance Command, her voice breathless with excitement. "Colonel Hadrian, are you receiving this? The station, it's not just a research outpost. It's a key to protecting entire star systems. We need reinforcements here immediately. This could change everything." As Elena's transmission reached the Alliance Command Center, the battle in space reached a crescendo. Jack's fighters harried the retreating Imperial fleet, while the new Alliance weapon continued to wreak havoc on enemy formations. Colonel Hadrian absorbed the flood of information: Sean's successful strike, the potential of the ancient station, the shifting tide of the space battle. He knew that while they had won this engagement, the war was far from finished. Grand Admiral Thorne would regroup, would strike back with even greater force. But for now they had hope, and in this moment, that was enough. Jack's voice came over the comm, tired but triumphant. "Colonel, the Imperial fleet is in full retreat. What are your orders?" Hadrian's eyes swept over the tactical displays, his mind already racing with plans and contingencies. "Secure the area, Chen, and then prepare for our next move. I have a feeling things are about to get very interesting." Hadrian's words hung in the air as Jack's squadron finished securing the area. The Imperial fleet had retreated, but the Alliance knew this was only a temporary reprieve. As the last enemy ships disappeared from their sensors, Jack opened a secure channel to the command center. "Area secured, Colonel. What's our next move?" "Return to base, Chen. We need to regroup and plan our next steps." As Jack's fighters docked in the station's hangar, Sean Murray's transport touched down nearby. The strike team leader looked exhausted but triumphant as he disembarked. Jack met him on the landing pad, clasping his friend's arm. "Heard you did some damage out there," Jack said with a grin. Sean nodded, his eyes gleaming. "You should have seen it, Jack. We hit them where it hurts." The two made their way to the command center, where Colonel Hadrian was already deep in discussion with Dr. Elena Rodriguez via hologram. The scientist's image flickered as she gesticulated excitedly. "Colonel, the technology on this station is beyond anything we've seen. We need to relocate our research team here immediately." Hadrian nodded, his expression thoughtful. "Agreed. We'll establish a new base of operations nearby. Codename Nexus." Over the next few days, Alliance forces swarmed over the sector. A suitable planet was quickly identified, and construction began on the new forward base. Jack watched from the cockpit of his fighter as transport ships ferried personnel and equipment to the surface. In the newly established command center on Nexus, Sean Murray stood before a holographic display of the sector. Alien commanders from various species gathered around, their faces set with grit. "We need to fortify our positions," Sean explained, highlighting key systems. "The Empire will strike back, and we need to be ready." As Sean outlined his plan for a multi-layered defense network, Jack led Phoenix Squadron on a series of lightning raids against Imperial supply lines. His fighters struck with precision, disabling transport ships and destroying fuel depots. Back on Nexus, Dr. Rodriguez and her team worked tirelessly in their new laboratory. The ancient station's secrets were slowly unraveling before them. Marcus Wong, hunched over a workbench, called out to Elena. "Dr. Rodriguez, I think I've got something." Elena hurried over, her eyes widening, as she saw the device Marcus had constructed. "Is that what I think it is?" Marcus nodded, barely containing his excitement. "A prototype shield generator, based on the station's defensive technology. If my calculations are correct, it should be able to withstand significantly more damage than our current shields." Word of the breakthrough spread quickly. Within hours, Alliance technicians were installing the first batch of new shield generators on their capital ships. As the Alliance strengthened its position, reports came in of Imperial forces regrouping under Grand Admiral Thorne's command. Jack's reconnaissance flights confirmed the reports. Massive new warships were moving into the sector, overflowing with enhanced weapon systems. In the Nexus Command Center, Sean Murray studied the latest intelligence reports. His face was grim as he turned to Colonel Hadrian. "They're establishing a blockade around our controlled systems," Sean said, pointing to the holographic display. "We need to break it before they cut off our supply routes completely." Hadrian nodded. "What do you propose?" Sean's eyes glinted with perseverance. "A covert operation. I'll lead a small team to infiltrate one of their blockade ships. If we can sabotage their systems, we might be able to create a weak point in their formation." As Sean assembled his team and prepared for the mission, Dr. Rodriguez made another startling discovery. In a forgotten corner of the ancient space station, her team had stumbled upon a dormant production line. "It's manufacturing advanced drone fighters," Elena explained to Colonel Hadrian over a secure channel. "The AI controlling them is like nothing we've ever seen. These drones could give us a significant tactical advantage." Hadrian's mind raced with the possibilities. "How soon can we have them operational?" "We're activating the production line now," Elena replied. "We should have a sizable force within days." As the newly produced drones began their first test flights, Sean Murray's team slipped past the Imperial blockade. Using Vargan cloaking technology, they approached their target, a massive Imperial cruiser serving as a linchpin in the blockade formation. Sean led his team through the ship's access hatch, their movements silent and precise. They made their way to the main computer core, where Marcus's hacking tools would do their work. Suddenly, an alarm blared. Sean cursed under his breath as the sound of booted feet echoed down the corridor. "Hurry!" he hissed to the team's tech specialist, who was furiously working at a console. Imperial troops rounded the corner, weapons raised. Sean and his team took cover, returning fire as the ship's systems began to malfunction around them. Back at Nexus, Colonel Hadrian received Sean's urgent transmission. "Mission accomplished, but we're under heavy fire. Requesting immediate extraction." Hadrian turned to Jack, who was already moving towards the hangar. "Chen, take Phoenix Squadron and get them out of there. Use the new shields and drone fighters for cover." As Jack's fighters screamed towards the Imperial blockade, the command center erupted into action. The stage was set for a decisive battle that would determine the course of the war. With the drone fighters forming a protective vanguard and the shield-enhanced capital ships moving into position, Jack keyed his comm. "Phoenix Squadron, form up. We're going in hot." The Imperial blockade loomed before them, a wall of steel and energy weapons. But as they approached, one of the massive cruisers began to list, its weapons systems firing wildly. "There's our opening," Jack called out. "All units, push through." As Alliance forces engaged the Imperial blockade, long-range sensors detected a massive energy surge from a distant star system. In the Nexus Command Center, a junior officer's voice rang out with urgency. "Sir, we're picking up a signal matching the Helios superweapon signature." Colonel Hadrian's face hardened as he processed this new threat. The Alliance now faced a critical decision: maintain their focus on breaking the blockade or divert resources to counter the Helios project. As the battle raged around them, Sean Murray's team fought their way back to their extraction point, the fate of the entire offensive hanging in the balance. Balance. Colonel Hadrian's voice cut through the tension, his decision clear and resolute. "We strike at both targets simultaneously. Sean, prepare your team for immediate deployment to the blockade ship. Jack, get Phoenix Squadron ready to provide cover. Dr. Rodriguez, activate those drones. We're going to hit them hard and fast." The command center erupted into a flurry of activity. Sean Murray gathered his infiltration team, their faces set with stubborn persistence as they double-checked their gear. Jack Chen sprinted towards the hangar, barking orders to his pilots over the comm. In the ancient space station, Dr. Rodriguez stood before a massive control panel, her fingers dancing across alien symbols. With a final command, the station's slipspace drive hummed to life, its energy signature unlike anything the Alliance had ever utilized before. Sean's team boarded their stealth transport, the ship's systems barely making a whisper as it prepared for launch. As the hangar doors opened, revealing the star-studded expanse of space, Sean keyed his comm. "This is Murray. We're Oscar Mike." The transport vanished into slipspace, followed closely by Jack's fighter squadron and the swarm of newly activated drone fighters. The battlefield stretched before them as they emerged, the Imperial blockade a wall of steel and energy weapons. Sean's transport slipped past the blockade's outer defenses, its Vargan cloaking technology rendering it invisible to Imperial sensors. They approached their target, a massive Imperial cruiser serving as a linchpin in the formation. "Prepare for boarding," Sean ordered, his voice low and steady. "Remember, we're here to create chaos. Hit fast, hit hard, and get out." The transport latched onto the Imperial ship's hull, cutting through with pinpoint precision. Sean led the charge, his team moving with practiced efficiency through the access hatch and into the enemy vessel's corridors. As Sean's team penetrated deeper into the ship, alarms began to blare. Imperial troops poured into the hallways, their weapons charged and ready. Sean's team took cover, returning fire with deadly accuracy. "Marcus, get to the computer core," Sean shouted over the din of battle. "We need those systems compromised now." Marcus Wong nodded, his fingers already flying over his datapad as he prepared his hacking tools. He ducked and weaved through the firefight, making his way to the ship's central nervous system. Outside, Jack Chen led Phoenix Squadron in a series of daring attack runs against the blockade. The new shield generators on their fighters absorbed punishment that would have vaporized them in the past. "Phoenix 3, on your 6, Jack called out, his fighter rolling into position to take out an Imperial pursuer. His targeting computer locked on, and a burst of energy lanced out, turning the enemy craft into an expanding cloud of debris. Suddenly, a new wave of signals appeared on Jack's radar. The drone fighters emerged from slipspace, their AI-controlled movements fluid and unpredictable. They swarmed the Imperial ships, overwhelming their point defense systems and creating gaps in their formation. Back on the Imperial cruiser, Marcus finally reached the computer core. His fingers flew over the alien console, his hacking tools interfacing with the ship's systems. Sweat beaded on his brow as he worked, acutely aware of the sounds of battle drawing closer. Come on, he muttered, his eyes scanning lines of code at lightning speed. Suddenly, the ship lurched beneath them. Marcus allowed himself a small smile as the cruiser's weapons systems began to fire wildly, its navigation controls no longer responding to Imperial commands. "Sean, we're good," Marcus shouted into his comm. "This bird is cooked." Sean nodded, gesturing to his team. "Fall back to the extraction point. Move." As Sean's team fought their way back through the corridors, the effects of their sabotage spread throughout the Imperial blockade. Ships collided, their formation thrown into disarray. Jack and his squadron pressed the advantage, their weapons finding vulnerable targets in the chaos. Meanwhile, in a distant star system, another battle was unfolding. Colonel Hadrian had dispatched a strike force led by the Zarkon commander Krelvor to the suspected location of the Helios project. Krelvor's ships dropped out of slipspace near a dying star, immediately detecting a heavily fortified Imperial research station in orbit. The Zarkon's mandibles clicked in anticipation as he surveyed the enemy defenses. "All units, commence attack, pattern Sigma," Krelvor ordered, his voice a low growl. "Vargan teams, prepare for insertion. Nixari squadrons, focus on disrupting their power grid." The battle for the Helios project erupted in a dazzling display of energy weapons and explosions. Vargan's stealth ships slipped past the station's outer defenses, deploying teams of saboteurs at key points throughout the facility. Inside the research station, Imperial scientists scrambled to secure their data as alarms blared. Elite Imperial guards took up defensive positions, their weapons trained on every access point. As the Alliance forces pressed their attack on both fronts, Grand Admiral Thorne received a flood of urgent reports. His face, usually a mask of calm confidence, betrayed a flicker of concern. "Order a tactical retreat," he commanded, his voice tight with barely suppressed anger. "We must protect the Helios project at all costs." But as the Imperial forces attempted to regroup, they found themselves hounded by the relentless drone fighters. The AI-controlled craft pursued the retreating ships, their coordinated attacks preventing the formation of a cohesive defense. In the Helios research station, Krelvor led the charge into the main laboratory. His team moved with precision, securing partial schematics of the superweapon and planting charges to overload the experimental power core. As Alliance forces began their withdrawal, the Helios station erupted in a massive explosion. The nearby dying star, destabilized by the blast, began to collapse, its gravitational pull catching numerous Imperial ships in its death throes. Back at the blockade, Sean's team made a final push for their extraction point. Imperial troops closed in from all sides, their weapons fire intensifying. Sean sprinted down a corridor, providing covering fire as the last of his team boarded their transport. "We're clear!" Sean shouted into his comm as the transport disengaged from the Imperial cruiser. "All units, fall back!" As Alliance ships jumped to slip space, the Imperial blockade lay in ruins. The coordinated strikes had dealt a severe blow to the Empire's plans, but the cost had been high. Numerous Alliance ships limped back to base, their hulls scarred and systems strained to the breaking point. In the aftermath of the battles, Sean Murray stood before a holographic display in the Nexus Command Center, studying the latest intelligence reports. Colonel Hadrian approached, his face a mixture of satisfaction and concern. "We've dealt them a significant blow," Hadrian said, his voice low. "But Thorn won't take this lying down. Our scouts are already reporting massive Imperial reinforcements en route to the sector." Sean nodded, his mind already racing with potential strategies. "Then we need to press our advantage while we still have it. I have an idea, Colonel. It's risky, but if it works..." As Sean began to outline his plan for a strike against the Empire's primary shipyards, the Alliance stood at a crossroads. Their recent victories had shifted the balance of power, but the war was just the beginning. The next moves would be critical, determining the fate of not just their forces, but of the entire galaxy. Galaxy. Sean's eyes gleamed with tenacity as he outlined his plan to Colonel Hadrian. "The Empire's primary shipyards, sir. That's our next target." Hadrian raised an eyebrow, considering the audacity of the proposal. "It's a bold move, Murray, but if we can pull it off, we could cripple their ability to rebuild their fleet." Within hours, the Alliance leadership convened to discuss the operation. The command center buzzed with activity as Sean presented his strategy, pointing out key locations on a holographic display of the Imperial shipyards. "We'll use our new shield generators and AI-controlled drones to create a diversion," Sean explained. "Meanwhile, a specially modified stealth ship will infiltrate the facility and plant explosives at critical points." As the Alliance prepared for the mission, Grand Admiral Thorn received reports of the recent attacks. His fingers tightened around the datapad, squeezing hard with almost unchecked fury. "Deploy the new sensor arrays to all key installations," he ordered his subordinates. "I want every approach monitored. If the rebels think they can strike at will, they're gravely mistaken." Back at the Nexus, Dr. Elena Rodriguez burst into the command center, her eyes wide with excitement. "Colonel Hadrian, Sean, we've made a breakthrough." She quickly explained their discovery, a way to temporarily disrupt Imperial sensors using the ancient space station's reactor. Sean's mind raced with the possibilities this new development offered. As the day of the operation dawned, Sean stood in the hangar, surrounded by the most advanced ships in the Alliance fleet. Jack Chen approached, adjusting his flight suit. "Ready to raise some hell, Murray?" Jack grinned. Sean nodded, his expression serious. "Let's hope this works. We may not get another chance like this." The task force moved out, using the ancient station's slipspace drive to make a series of calculated jumps. As they approached the target system, Sean's voice crackled over the comm. "Dr. Rodriguez, activate the disruption device." On the Nexus, Elena initiated the sequence. The station's reactor pulsed with energy, sending out a wave that washed over the Imperial sensors. In the shipyard's control room, alarms blared as screens flickered and went dark. An officer turned to his superior, panic in his eyes. "Sir, we've lost all long-range sensors." Before the Imperials could react, the Alliance fleet dropped out of slipspace. Sean's voice rang out across all channels. "All units, commence attack!" The AI-controlled drone fighters surged forward, their movements unpredictable and deadly. They swarmed the shipyard's outer defenses, drawing fire and creating chaos. Jack led Phoenix Squadron in a series of daring attack runs. "Phoenix 3 and 4, take out those comm arrays. 5 and 6 with me. We're going after their power generators." Energy weapons lanced through space as the battle erupted. Imperial fighters scrambled to meet the threat, but the Alliance's new shields absorbed punishment that would have vaporized them in the past. Amidst the furious space battle, Sean's stealth ship slipped past the remaining defenses. He led his team through the airlock, weapons at the ready. "Remember," Sean said, his voice low and steady, "we move fast, we hit hard, and we get out. No heroics." They encountered resistance almost immediately. Imperial security forces poured into the corridor, filling the air with blaster fire. Sean's team took cover, returning fire with practiced precision. "Marcus," Sean called out as he ducked behind a bulkhead. "How far to the control center?" Marcus consulted his datapad, fingers flying over the screen. "2 levels up, about 300 meters east. But the lift ahead is locked down." Sean nodded, making a quick decision. "We'll use the maintenance shafts. Move." As they fought their way through the facility, Marcus's voice suddenly cut through the din of battle. "Sean, I'm picking up a massive energy buildup. It's like a smaller version of the Helios weapon." Sean's blood ran cold. He keyed his comm, connecting to the Alliance command ship. "Hadrian, we've got a problem. They've got a Helios-type weapon here. We need to take it out before they can fire." The team redoubled their efforts, pushing through waves of Imperial guards. They finally reached the control center, engaging in a fierce firefight with elite troops. Sean spotted the weapon controls across the room. He turned to his team. "Cover me!" He sprinted across the open space, blaster fire sizzling past him. Diving behind the console, Sean quickly assessed the controls. His fingers flew over the alien interface, overriding systems and disabling failsafes. Just as the weapon began to power up, Sean input the final command. The energy buildup dissipated, and the weapon fell silent. "It's done!" Sean shouted. "Plant the charges and upload the virus. We're leaving!" As the team worked to sabotage the facility, a new threat appeared on the Alliance's sensors. Marcus's voice crackled over the comm. "Sean, we've got a problem. Grand Admiral Thorne just arrived with a massive fleet. They're moving to cut off our escape." Sean cursed under his breath. "Hadrian, we need extraction, now!" Colonel Hadrian's voice was calm but urgent. "Understood, Murray. Get to your ship. We'll hold them off as long as we can." Sean and his team fought their way back through the facility, Imperial forces hot on their heels. They reached the stealth ship just as the first explosions began to rock the shipyard. As they disengaged from the facility, Sean watched through the view screen as the Alliance fleet formed a defensive perimeter. The space around them erupted in a furious exchange of fire as Thorne's forces engaged. "All units, prepare for immediate jump," Hadrian's voice rang out. "We've done what we came to do." The Alliance ships began to disengage, covering each other's retreat. Just as they prepared to jump, the charges Sean's team had planted detonated. The shipyard erupted in a series of massive explosions, tearing through partially constructed Imperial capital ships and support structures. As they jumped to safety, Sean allowed himself a small smile. They had struck a significant blow against the Empire, but he knew the war was far from finished. Grand Admiral Thorne's swift response showed that the Imperial forces were adapting, learning from each encounter. Back at the Nexus, Sean stood before the Alliance leadership, delivering his after-action report. The room was filled with a mixture of excitement over their victory and concern about the battles yet to come. "We've hurt them," Sean concluded. "But Thorne is already moving to counter our tactics. We need to stay ahead of them, find new ways to fight." Colonel Hadrian nodded, his face grave. "Agreed. Our intelligence suggests the Empire is accelerating the development of new weapons and defenses. We need to be prepared for whatever they throw at us next." As the meeting adjourned, Sean's mind was already racing with possibilities for their next move. The recent victories had shifted the balance of power, but the final outcome of the conflict remained uncertain. One thing was clear: the true test of the Alliance's strength and grit lay ahead. The true test of the Alliance's strength and commitment was yet to come. As the command center emptied, Sean remained behind, studying the holographic display of their recent victories. Colonel Hadrian approached, his footsteps echoing in the now quiet room. "You have something else on your mind, Murray," Hadrian observed, his keen eyes searching Sean's face. Sean nodded, his gaze still fixed on the hologram. "We've dealt some significant blows to the Empire, sir, but we can't keep operating like this. We need a more permanent base of operations. He manipulated the display, zooming in on a planet near the ancient space station. This world, Colonel, it's strategically located, and with the right defenses, it could become our fortress. Hadrian stroked his chin, considering the proposal. A bold move, but I see the merit. Present your plan to the Leadership Council tomorrow. The following day, Sean stood before the Alliance leaders, outlining his vision for what would become known as Phoenix Base. As he spoke, the holographic display behind him showed detailed schematics of the proposed facility. By integrating technologies from the ancient station and our captured Imperial systems, we can create a multi-layered defense grid unlike anything the Empire has faced, Sean explained, his voice steady and confident. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stepped forward, adding her expertise to the presentation. The energy shields alone would require a coordinated assault to breach, and that's just the first layer of defense. As the council deliberated, Sean could see the mix of hope and concern on their faces. Finally, the vote was cast. Phoenix Base would become a reality. Weeks passed in a flurry of activity. Sean watched from the bridge of a transport ship as the planet's surface transformed. Construction drones swarmed over the site, erecting massive structures and digging deep into the planet's crust for geothermal power. Dr. Rodriguez's voice crackled over the comm. Sean, we're ready to test the sensor array. Care to do the honors? Sean smiled, pressing a button on the console before him. On the planet's surface, a network of sensor towers hummed to life, their energy readings spiking on the ship's monitors. Incredible, Sean murmured, watching as the system detected and tracked a cloaked probe they had launched earlier. The Empire won't be able to sneeze near this system without us knowing. As Phoenix Base took shape, Sean turned his attention to another crucial aspect of their strategy. In a secure briefing room, he met with a diverse group of aliens and humans, each selected for their unique skills in covert operations. Welcome to our new reconnaissance unit, Sean began, his eyes scanning the assembled team. Your mission is simple but vital. Gather intelligence deep within Imperial territory. A tall, lithe alien with iridescent scales stepped forward. I am Vexillar of the Zarkon. My people have evaded detection in the harshest environments for millennia. We are honored to put our skills to use against the Empire. Sean nodded, a grim smile on his face. Glad to have you, Vexillar. You'll be leading this unit into some of the most dangerous territory in the galaxy. As the recon unit began their training, Marcus Wong was hard at work in his lab, surrounded by a chaos of wires, circuit boards, and holographic displays. Dr. Rodriguez entered, raising an eyebrow at the mess. Please tell me all this is leading somewhere, Marcus, she said, carefully navigating around a precarious stack of data crystals. Marcus grinned, holding up a small device. Oh, it's leading somewhere all right. How does instantaneous, untraceable, faster-than-light communication sound? Elena's eyes widened as she grasped the implications. That's impossible, isn't it? Apparently not, Marcus replied, activating the device. A holographic display sprang to life, showing real-time data from a probe light years away. This is going to change everything. While the Alliance made these advancements, Grand Admiral Thorne was far from idle. In the command center of his flagship, he studied reports of the Alliance's recent attacks, his face a mask of cold fury. They strike like phantoms and vanish before we can respond, Thorne muttered, his fingers drumming on the console. It's time we change the rules of engagement. He turned to his subordinates. Deploy the new automated defense platforms throughout our key systems. Let's see how these rebels fare when they can't hide in the shadows. As news of the Imperial Defense Network spread, Sean knew they needed to adapt their strategy once again. In a secure briefing room aboard the Nexus, he laid out his plan to a select team. We need to capture one of these platforms intact, Sean explained, pointing to a holographic representation of the Imperial device. The intelligence we could gain would be invaluable. Jack Chen leaned forward, his eyes gleaming with the challenge. I've studied the schematics we've intercepted. With the right approach, we could slice into their systems and take control before they knew what hit them. Sean nodded. That's why you're on this mission, Jack. We'll use a modified stealth ship to get close. Once we're in, it's up to you to crack their defenses. Days later, Sean found himself aboard that very ship, approaching an Imperial defense platform on the edge of contested space. The tension in the cockpit was palpable as they drew closer, their advanced cloaking technology hiding them from Imperial sensors. Approaching optimal insertion point, the pilot announced, her voice barely above a whisper despite the impossibility of being overheard. Sean turned to his team. Remember, we go in fast and quiet, neutralize any resistance, but our priority is capturing that platform's data core. Let's move. As they docked with the platform, Sean had no way of knowing that this mission would set in motion a chain of events that would push the Alliance to its very limits. The true test of their strength and ingenuity was about to begin. The true test of their strength and ingenuity was about to unfold in ways none of them could have anticipated. As Sean and his team made their way back to Phoenix Base, the Alliance's newly established stronghold, the gravity of their recent success began to sink in. The captured Imperial defense platform represented a treasure trove of intelligence that could turn the tide of the war. Upon their arrival, Sean was immediately summoned to an emergency meeting with the Alliance leadership. The command center buzzed with activity as he entered, holographic displays flickering with reports from across the galaxy. Colonel Hadrian's face was grim as he addressed the room. We've received disturbing news. The Empire has unleashed a new weapon capable of destroying entire planets. Several of our worlds have already fallen victim to this planet cracker. A hush fell over the assembled leaders. Sean felt a cold knot form in his stomach as he processed the implications. That's not all, Hadrian continued. We're facing a massive influx of refugees from the attacked worlds. Our resources are stretched to the breaking point. Sean stepped forward, his mind already racing with possibilities. Sir, the intelligence we gathered from the defense platform might hold the key to neutralizing this threat. He manipulated the holographic display, bringing up schematics and data streams. Our analysis, combined with Vexillar's reconnaissance, has revealed a critical weakness in the Empire's new weapon system. The room listened intently as Sean outlined his plan. The planet cracker requires a specific type of exotic matter as fuel. It's only produced at a single facility deep within Imperial space. If we can destroy it, we can cripple their ability to use this weapon. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, who had been poring over the data, spoke up. The fuel production process is incredibly complex. Sabotaging it would require intimate knowledge of the facility's systems. Sean nodded. That's why you'll be coming with us, Doctor. Your expertise in alien technology will be crucial. Jack Chen, the Alliance's top pilot, grinned from his seat. I assume you'll need someone to fly us past those Imperial defenses? Wouldn't dream of leaving you behind, Jack, Sean replied, a hint of a smile breaking through his serious demeanor. As the leadership debated the merits of the plan, alarms suddenly blared throughout the base. Security Chief Zorn, a Vargan known for his stealth expertise, burst into the room. We have a situation, Zorn growled, his alien features taut with tension. An Imperial sleeper agent has infiltrated the refugee population. They're attempting to transmit our location to Imperial forces. Sean's hand instinctively went to his blaster. Where? Lower levels, Zorn replied. My team is in pursuit, but they're slippery. Without hesitation, Sean and Zorn raced from the command center, sprinting through the base's winding corridors. They could hear the sounds of a chase echoing through the metal halls. As they rounded a corner, they caught sight of the agent, a nondescript human male trying to access a communications terminal. Zorn's security team had the corridor blocked off, but the agent was cornered and desperate. Sean stepped forward, his voice calm but authoritative. It's over. Surrender now, and you'll be treated fairly. The agent's eyes darted wildly, searching for an escape route. In a flash, he pulled out a small device, a short-range transmitter. Time seemed to slow as Sean assessed the situation. If that transmission went out, Phoenix Base would be compromised. In one fluid motion, he raised his blaster and fired, the energy bolt striking the transmitter just as the agent's finger pressed the activation switch. The device exploded in a shower of sparks, and the agent cried out in pain. Zorn's team moved in swiftly, subduing and restraining the Imperial spy. As the adrenaline faded, Sean realized the implications of this security breach. They needed to move fast before the Empire could piece together any information about their location. Returning to the command center, Sean addressed the leadership. "We need to accelerate our timeline. The strike on the fuel production facility has to happen now, before the Empire can strengthen their defenses." Colonel Hadrian nodded grimly. "Agreed. Assemble your team, Murray. You leave in 6 hours." The next few hours passed in a blur of preparation. Sean's strike team gathered aboard a specially modified ship equipped with the ancient space station's slipspace drive. As the docking clamps released, Sean looked out at Phoenix Base, knowing that the fate of the Alliance and countless innocent lives rested on the success of their mission. Jack Chen's voice came over the intercom, steady and focused. "All systems green. Preparing for slipspace jump on your mark, Sean." Sean took a deep breath, centering himself for the challenges ahead. "Let's do this. Engage slipspace drive." The ship's engines hummed to life, and in a flash of energy, they vanished from the Phoenix Base system, hurtling towards the heart of Imperial space in a confrontation that would shape the course of the war. Galaxy. As the slipspace drive engaged, Sean felt the familiar lurch in his stomach, a momentary disorientation as the fabric of space-time bent around them. Hours later, they emerged from slipspace near the Imperial fuel production facility. The massive structure loomed before them, a testament to the Empire's industrial might. Sean turned to his team, each member's face a mask of perseverance. "Remember, our primary objective is to sabotage the fuel production process," Sean said, his voice steady. "Dr. Rodriguez, you'll lead the infiltration team. Jack, keep us undetected as long as possible." The mission proceeded with clockwork precision. Using the intelligence they had gathered, the team bypassed the facility's outer defenses and made their way to the central control room. Dr. Rodriguez worked swiftly, her fingers flying over alien consoles as she rewrote the facility's core programming. "It's done," she announced, a hint of triumph in her voice. "The next batch of fuel they produce will be useless. It'll take them months to realize what went wrong and fix it." As they made their way back to the ship, alarms began to blare. Imperial troops poured into the corridors, plasma bolts sizzling past them. Sean and his team fought their way through, Jack's piloting skills put to the test as they made a harrowingly close escape. But their victory was short-lived. As they entered slipspace for the return journey, a pursuing Imperial destroyer managed to land a glancing blow on their engines. The ship shuddered violently, alarms blaring throughout the vessel. "Status report!" Sean shouted over the cacophony. Jack's voice crackled over the intercom, tense but controlled. "Main drive's offline. We've dropped out of slipspace, but we're way off course. Life support's damaged. We've got maybe 48 hours before things get critical." Sean's mind raced, assessing their options. "All right, initiate emergency protocols. Shut down all non-essential systems and reroute power to life support and communications." As the ship's systems powered down around them, Sean activated the emergency beacon, broadcasting a distress signal on encrypted Alliance channels. The message was brief but urgent. "Mission successful. Ship damaged. Require immediate extraction." Hours ticked by, the tension mounting as oxygen levels slowly declined. The team worked tirelessly to repair what they could, but the damage was too severe for their limited resources. Back at Phoenix Base, Colonel Hadrian received the distress call. His face grim, he immediately called for a rescue operation. "We can't lose Murray and his team. They're too valuable to the Alliance." A fast response vessel, outfitted with the latest stealth technology, was quickly prepared. At its helm stood Krelvor, a skilled Zarkon navigator known for his ability to navigate the treacherous currents of slipspace. As Krelvor's ship departed, using the ancient space station's slipspace drive to cover vast distances in mere hours, events elsewhere in the galaxy took a dire turn. Grand Admiral Thorne, enraged by the sabotage of the fuel production facility, launched a massive assault on Alliance territories. Imperial fleets advanced on multiple fronts, their weapons blazing as they targeted key Alliance worlds. On the bridge of his flagship, Thorne watched the holographic displays of battles unfolding across the sector. "Press the attack," he ordered, his voice cold. "Show these rebels the true might of the Empire." The Alliance found itself suddenly on the defensive, scrambling to protect its worlds from the Imperial onslaught. Marcus Wong's shield generators proved their worth, successfully deflecting bombardments on several planets. But the sheer scale of the Imperial offensive stretched Alliance defenses to their limits. As outer colonies fell to the advancing Imperial forces, waves of refugees fled towards the Alliance core worlds, adding to the chaos and strain on resources. Meanwhile, in the vast emptiness of deep space, Sean and his team clung to hope as their life support systems flickered and failed. Just as the situation seemed most dire, sensors picked up an incoming ship. "Alliance signatures," Jack announced, relief evident in his voice. "It's a rescue ship." Krelvor's vessel emerged from slipspace, its advanced stealth systems rendering it nearly invisible to Imperial sensors. With practiced precision, the Zarkon navigator maneuvered his ship alongside Sean's damaged vessel, engaging tractor beams to bring it safely aboard. As Sean and his team were extracted from their failing ship, he wasted no time in briefing Krelvor on the intelligence they had gathered. "The Empire's launching a massive offensive," he explained, his voice urgent. "We need to get this information back to Phoenix Base immediately." Krelvor nodded, his alien features set in unbreakable spirit. "Prepare for emergency slipspace jump," he announced to his crew. "We're taking the direct route home." As the rescue ship hurtled through slipspace, Sean's mind raced with plans and strategies. The information they had gathered could turn the tide of the war, but only if they could get it to Alliance Command in time. The ship emerged from slipspace near Phoenix Base, the massive structure of the ancient space station looming before them. As they docked, Sean could see the frantic activity throughout the base. The Imperial offensive had clearly taken its toll. Without pause, Sean made his way to the Alliance War Council, where Colonel Hadrian and other leaders were gathered around a holographic display of the battlefield. "Murray," Hadrian greeted him, relief evident in his voice. "What have you got for us?" Sean quickly outlined the intelligence they had gathered, including details of Imperial fleet movements and weapon capabilities. As he spoke, a plan began to form in his mind. "We need to disrupt their supply lines," Sean proposed, manipulating the holographic display to highlight key targets. "A series of hit-and-run attacks on their logistics hubs. If we can throw their coordination into chaos, we might be able to blunt this offensive." Colonel Hadrian studied the plan, his brow furrowed in concentration. After a moment, he nodded. "It's risky, but it might be our best shot. I'll allocate the resources you need. Make it happen, Murray." As Sean left the War Council to begin preparations for the counteroffensive, alarms blared throughout the base. A technician's voice came over the intercom, tense and urgent. "Long-range sensors are detecting a massive energy buildup in the Nexus system. Analysis indicates it's the Planet Cracker weapon. They're charging up for an attack on one of our core worlds." Sean froze, the implications hitting him like a physical blow. The success of their mission to sabotage the fuel production facility should have prevented this. How had the Empire managed to bring the weapon online? As he processed this new threat, Sean realized he faced an impossible choice. The plan to disrupt Imperial supply lines could deal a severe blow to their offensive, potentially saving countless Alliance worlds. But if they didn't stop the Planet Cracker, millions would die, and the very heart of the Alliance could be shattered. Time was running out. Sean knew that whatever he decided would shape the course of the war, and perhaps the destiny of the universe itself. Sean's mind raced as he processed the implications of the technician's words. The Planet Cracker weapon was operational, despite their efforts to sabotage the fuel production facility. He knew in an instant that their plans had to change. "Colonel," Sean said, turning to Hadrian, "we need to redirect our focus. The supply line disruption can wait. We have to stop that weapon." Hadrian nodded grimly. "Agreed. What do you propose?" Sean quickly outlined a multi-layered defense strategy, his hands moving rapidly over the holographic display. "We'll need every ship we can muster. Jack," he said, turning to his pilot, "I want you leading Phoenix Squadron in hit-and-run attacks on the Imperial escort fleet. Buy us time." Jack nodded, commitment etched on his face. "Consider it done." "Dr. Rodriguez," Sean continued, "can you modify the captured Imperial defense platform tech? We need a planetary-scale deflector shield, and fast." Elena's eyes lit up with the challenge. It's possible. Give me a team, and I'll make it happen. As the command center erupted into action, Sean made his way to the hangar. The Alliance flagship, a sleek vessel filled with the latest weaponry, awaited him. He'd command the defense from its bridge, coordinating the disparate elements of their hastily assembled plan. Hours later, Sean stood on the bridge of the flagship, surrounded by a swarm of Alliance vessels. Before them loomed the Imperial fleet, a vast array of warships escorting the massive form of the planet cracker. "All ships, prepare for engagement," Sean's voice rang out across the Alliance comm channels. "Remember your training. We're not just fighting for ourselves today, but for every life on that planet below." The space between the fleets erupted in a storm of energy as the battle began. Alliance ships darted and weaved through the Imperial formation, their enhanced maneuverability allowing them to strike at weak points in the larger vessel's defenses. Sean watched the tactical display, calling out orders as the situation evolved. "Phoenix Squadron, focus your attacks on their starboard flank. Create a gap for our heavy cruisers to exploit." Jack's voice crackled over the comm. "Roger that. Phoenix Squadron, form up on me. We're going in hot." The battle raged on, Alliance ships taking heavy losses but holding the line. Sean's unorthodox tactics kept the Imperial fleet off balance, preventing them from bringing the full might of their superior numbers to bear. But time was running out. The planet cracker inched closer to firing position, its massive form pushing inexorably through the defensive screen. Suddenly, a priority transmission cut through the chaos of battle. "Sean, this is Vaxilar. We've identified a weakness in the planet cracker's power distribution system. It's a flaw from their rushed repairs." Sean's mind raced, formulating a plan in an instant. "Understood. Transmit the data to my shuttle. Jack, meet me in Hangar Bay 3. We're going in." Minutes later, Sean found himself aboard a modified stealth shuttle with Jack at the controls and a team of elite commandos at his back. As they approached the titanic form of the planet cracker, Sean briefed his team on their bold strategy. "We have one shot at this," he said, his voice steady despite the stakes. "We get in, plant the charges on the main power core, and get out. Simple." One of the commandos let out a nervous chuckle. "Yeah, simple. Just another day at the office, right?" The shuttle slipped through a gap in the planet cracker's defenses, Jack's piloting skills put to the ultimate test as they navigated the labyrinth of the massive weapons superstructure. They touched down in a small maintenance bay, the team springing into action the moment the hatch opened. Sean led the way, blaster in hand, as they fought through corridors crawling with security droids and elite Imperial guards. The ship shuddered around them, buffeted by the ongoing battle outside. They reached the main power core, a cavernous chamber humming with almost unchecked energy. As the commandos set up a defensive perimeter, Sean and Jack worked quickly to plant the specialized charges. "Charges set," Sean announced. "Let's move." But their exit was far from clear. Imperial forces had become aware of their presence, and the corridors back to their shuttle were swarming with hostiles. "New plan," Sean said, assessing their options. "We fight our way to the auxiliary hangar. Jack, can you remotely pilot the shuttle to meet us there?" Jack nodded, already tapping commands into his wrist computer. "On it, but we'd better hurry. This place is about to become a lot less hospitable." They fought their way through the planet cracker's winding corridors, the sounds of battle growing louder as they neared the auxiliary hangar. Just as they reached the hangar entrance, a massive explosion rocked the ship. "The charges!" Sean yelled. "Move!" They sprinted across the hangar floor as the planet cracker began to break apart around them. Jack's piloting skills were put to the ultimate test as he wove the shuttle through debris and weapons fire, bringing it alongside the fleeing team. As they made their escape, Sean watched through the view screen as the planet cracker exploded in a cataclysmic burst of energy, taking a significant portion of the Imperial fleet with it. The destruction of the superweapon marked a turning point in the battle. Sean coordinated a series of precision strikes that shattered the remaining Imperial formation, forcing them into a full retreat. As the immediate threat subsided, reports flooded in from across Alliance space. The diversion of Imperial resources to this failed attack had left their positions elsewhere vulnerable. For the first time since the massive offensive began, Alliance forces were pushing back. Sean allowed himself a moment of relief, But he knew the war was not nearly finished. As he gazed out at the stars, he began to formulate a new strategy. With the Empire's superweapon destroyed and their offensive blunted, they had a chance to strike at the heart of Imperial power. The ultimate confrontation with Grand Admiral Thorn loomed on the horizon. Sean knew that the coming battles would determine not just the fate of the Alliance, but the future of the entire galaxy. But as Sean gazed at the stars, a new plan began to take shape in his mind. "Colonel Hadrian," Sean said, turning to face the Alliance leader, "we have an opportunity here. The Empire's reeling from this defeat. We need to press our advantage while we can." Hadrian raised an eyebrow. "What did you have in mind, Murray?" Sean manipulated the holographic display, zooming in on the Imperial capital world. "We strike at the heart. A small team, highly trained, to infiltrate the capital itself." Hadrian's eyes widened. "That's ambitious, to say the least. You're talking about penetrating the most heavily defended world in the galaxy." "Exactly," Sean nodded. "They won't be expecting it, not after this defeat." Over the next weeks, Sean assembled his team. Jack Chen was an easy choice. His piloting skills would be crucial. Dr. Elena Rodriguez joined for her expertise in Imperial tech. A handful of Alliance operatives with specialized skills rounded out the group. As the team trained intensively, Alliance forces pressed their advantage across multiple fronts. Reports of reclaimed territories flooded in daily, each victory serving as cover for Sean's true objective. In a secure lab deep within Phoenix Base, Marcus Wong put the finishing touches on a new cloaking device. "It's a hybrid," he explained to Sean, gesturing to the sleek apparatus. "Combines tech from the ancient station with captured Imperial stealth systems. Should get you past their sensors." Sean nodded, impressed. "Good work, Marcus. This could make all the difference." As the day of departure neared, Vexillar's reconnaissance unit made a critical discovery. "We've identified a vulnerability," the Zarkon operative reported. "A scheduled maintenance cycle in their shield grid. It'll give you a narrow window to slip through undetected." Sean studied the data, a grim smile on his face. "This is it. Our way in." The modified Alliance scout ship slipped silently through space, its new cloaking device rendering it invisible to Imperial sensors. In the cockpit, Jack's hands danced over the controls, expertly guiding them through a series of precisely calculated slipspace jumps. "Approaching the capital system," Jack announced, his voice tense. "Cloaking device holding steady." Sean leaned forward, studying the sensor readouts. "There's our window. Take us in, Jack." The ship glided through the gap in the planetary defenses, descending into the sprawling industrial sector of the Imperial capital. They touched down in an abandoned warehouse, the ship's advanced holographic camouflage instantly concealing it from view. "All right, people," Sean addressed the team as they disembarked. "We're in. Now the real work begins." Over the next days, the team worked tirelessly to gather intelligence. Elena hacked into the Imperial communication network, providing real-time data on security patrols and alert levels. Jack used his piloting skills to navigate the team through the city's complex network of skyways and restricted zones. As Sean pored over the intel they'd gathered, a pattern began to emerge. "Look at this," he said, gesturing to a series of intercepted communiques. "There's dissent in the Imperial ranks. High-ranking officers questioning Thorn's leadership." Elena studied the data, her eyes widening. "You're right, it looks like they might be planning a coup." Sean's mind raced with the implications. "This changes things. We need to make contact with these officers. If we can turn them to our side." After careful consideration, Sean decided to approach Imperial Navy Captain Valancourt, one of the identified dissident officers. The meeting was fraught with tension, both sides acutely aware of the stakes. "Why should I trust you?" Core demanded, his hand hovering near his sidearm. Sean met his gaze steadily. "Because we both want the same thing, to end this war. Thorn's tactics are destroying the Empire from within. Help us remove him, and we can negotiate a lasting peace." After tense negotiation, Core agreed to provide inside information on Thorn's security and routines. Armed with this new intelligence, Sean formulated a daring plan to capture the Grand Admiral during a scheduled military parade. As the day of the operation dawned, Sean's team put their plan into motion. Remote explosives detonated across the city, creating chaos and confusion. Amidst the turmoil, Sean and Jack positioned themselves along Thorne's route. "Transport approaching," Jack's voice crackled over the comm. "EMP ready." Sean watched as the heavily armored vehicle came into view. "Now!" A precisely timed electromagnetic pulse disabled the transport systems. In a flurry of movement, Sean's team breached the vehicle, engaging Thorne's personal guard in fierce close-quarters combat. The fighting was intense. Blaster fire exchanged at point-blank range. Sean ducked under a guard's swing, driving his elbow into the man's solar plexus before spinning to face the next threat. Suddenly, the Grand Admiral himself appeared, his face a mask of fury as he raised his weapon. Sean dove, tackling Thorne to the ground. They grappled fiercely, but Sean's training gave him the edge. With a final, decisive move, he subdued the Imperial leader. "Grand Admiral Thorne," Sean said, his voice tight with exertion, "you're under arrest." With their high-value prisoner secured, Sean transmitted the signal to the waiting Alliance fleet. As Alliance forces began their push towards the capital, news of Thorne's capture spread like wildfire. The dissident Imperial officers, led by Captain Kor, seized their opportunity. Key military installations and communication centers fell under their control, throwing the Empire into chaos. Sean's team fought their way through the frenzied streets, Thorne in tow, making for their hidden ship. Loyalist forces pursued them relentlessly, the city becoming a war zone around them. As they neared the warehouse where their ship lay concealed, a massive explosion rocked the area. Sean looked up to see Alliance ships engaging Imperial defenses in the sky above. "This is our chance," Sean called out to his team. "Let's move!" They sprinted for the ship, Jack already powering up the engines. As they strapped in, the warehouse doors slid open, revealing the chaos of the burning city beyond. "Hang on," Jack warned, hands flying over the controls. "This is going to be a bumpy ride." The ship shot forward, weaving through the city's towering structures as anti-aircraft fire filled the sky. Sean gripped his seat, watching as Jack's expert piloting kept them just ahead of their pursuers. As they broke atmosphere, the true scale of the battle became clear. The Alliance fleet clashed with Imperial forces, creating a maelstrom of energy weapons and explosions that lit up space. "We're not out of this yet," Sean said, his eyes fixed on the battle ahead. "Take us through that firestorm, Jack. It's time to bring our prize home." The ship accelerated, plunging into the heart of the space battle. Around them, the fate of humanity and all alien species hung in the balance. But for now, Sean could focus only on the immediate challenge of escaping the Imperial capital with their captured leader. The war had entered a new phase, and the real struggle was just beginning. The war had entered a new phase, and the real struggle was just starting. Sean gripped the chairs of his seat as Jack pushed the ship to its limits, weaving through the chaos of the space battle. Energy beams and explosions lit up the void around them, creating a deadly obstacle course. "Incoming fighters! Port side!" Elena shouted from her station. Sean's eyes darted to the tactical display. A squadron of Imperial interceptors had broken off from the main engagement, zeroing in on their position. "Jack, evasive maneuvers!" Sean ordered, his voice steady despite the tension. The ship lurched as Jack executed a series of tight rolls and turns, narrowly avoiding the first volley of enemy fire. Sean felt his stomach churn, but he forced himself to focus on the task at hand. "Elena, can you get a signal through to the Alliance fleet?" he asked. Dr. Rodriguez's fingers flew over her console. "Working on it. The Imperial jamming is strong, but I think I can punch through." As Elena battled with the communication systems, Sean turned his attention to their pursuers. The Imperial fighters were closing in, their superior speed allowing them to gain ground despite Jack's skillful piloting. "Jack, take us into that debris field," Sean instructed, pointing to a cluster of destroyed ships floating ahead. Jack nodded grimly. "Hold on tight. This is going to get rough." The ship plunged into the field of twisted metal and shattered hulls. Jack's piloting skills were pushed to the limit as he navigated through the dangerous obstacle course. Behind them, two of the Imperial fighters crashed into the debris, erupting into fireballs. "I've got a signal." Elena exclaimed. Patching us through to the Alliance flagship now? Sean leaned towards the comm unit. This is Sean Murray. We have Grand Admiral Thorne in custody and are requesting immediate assistance. Our position is... A violent impact rocked the ship, cutting off Sean's transmission. Warning lights flashed across the cockpit as alarms blared. We've lost our port engine, Jack reported, his voice strained. I don't know how much longer I can keep us ahead of them. Sean's mind raced, assessing their options. They were still too far from the Alliance lines to make a break for it, and with only one engine, they'd be sitting ducks in open space. Take us back towards the planet, Sean decided. We'll use the atmosphere to shake them off. Jack nodded, adjusting their course. The ship shuddered as it re-entered the planet's atmosphere, the hull glowing red-hot from the friction. Behind them, the remaining Imperial fighters followed, unwilling to give up their pursuit. Elena, what's the status of our cloaking device? Sean asked. It's damaged, but I might be able to get it working for a short burst, she replied, already moving to access a maintenance panel. Do it, Sean ordered. Jack, be ready to cut all non-essential power and go dark on my mark. As they plunged deeper into the atmosphere, the towering skyline of the Imperial capital came into view. Jack wove between massive structures, using them as cover from their pursuers. Cloak ready, Elena reported, but we'll only have a few seconds before it fails. Sean watched the tactical display, waiting for the perfect moment. As they rounded a massive communications spire, he saw their opportunity. Now! He shouted. Elena activated the cloak as Jack cut power to all non-essential systems. The ship seemed to vanish from sight, blending seamlessly with the cityscape around them. The Imperial fighters, caught off guard by their quarry's sudden disappearance, overshot their position. For several tense seconds, they drifted in silence, watching as the confused Imperial pilots circled the area. Finally, the fighters peeled off, presumably to continue their search elsewhere. Good work, everyone, Sean said, allowing himself a small sigh of relief. Jack, get us back into orbit. Elena, see if you can re-establish contact with the Alliance fleet. As they climbed back towards space, Sean moved to check on their prisoner. Grand Admiral Thorne sat in the ship's small holding area, his face a mask of cold fury. This changes nothing, Murray, Thorne spat. The Empire will crush your pathetic rebellion with or without me. Sean met the Admiral's gaze steadily. You're wrong, Thorne. Your capture changes everything. The war ends today. Returning to the cockpit, Sean found Elena had successfully made contact with the Alliance fleet. Colonel Hadrian's face appeared on the console, his expression a mix of relief and disbelief. Murray, is it true? You have Thorne? The colonel asked. Sean nodded. Affirmative, sir. We're bringing him in now. Request immediate escort and clearance to dock. Granted, Hadrian replied. And Murray, well done. You may have just won us the war. As Sean's ship approached the Alliance flagship, a squadron of fighters moved to form a protective escort around them. Jack guided them into the main hangar bay, where a contingent of heavily armed Marines waited to take custody of their high-value prisoner. Sean watched as Grand Admiral Thorne was led away in restraints, the reality of their accomplishment finally sinking in. They had done it. They had struck at the very heart of the Empire and emerged victorious. But Sean knew their work was nowhere near the end. As he followed Colonel Hadrian to the ship's war room for an emergency debriefing, his mind was already racing with plans for their next move. The capture of Thorne was a critical blow to the Empire, but how they leveraged this advantage would determine the destiny of the universe. The war room was a flurry of activity when they arrived, with officers and analysts poring over real-time data from across the battlefield. Colonel Hadrian called the room to order as Sean took his place at the central holographic display. Ladies and gentlemen, Hadrian began, thanks to the efforts of Sean Murray and his team, we now have an unprecedented opportunity to end this war. The question is, how do we proceed? All eyes turned to Sean, waiting for his input. He took a deep breath, knowing that his next words could shape the future of countless worlds.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.